Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We have a busy day today. We are looking at the new filing by Justin Wayfarer's team on the docket where he stipulated that for trial purposes only, the jury will be instructed that Miss Lively, Blake Lively, just reading the order here, engaged in protected activity by complaining about or opposing a hostile work environment. So we will get into that today. I'll give my thoughts on PR. We will pull up some of the lawyers, see what they're saying. I want to hear what y'all have to say about it. Number two, who watched Rebel Wilson yesterday on the stand? Who stayed up and watched Rebel Wilson? Because I did. And the amount of times that woman could get caught in lies and then just continue spinning is quite impressive to some degree. So I had been tracking her testimony on my Instagram stories. I'll do that again tonight. I don't go all night. I'm in Ontario, Canada. It starts at my 8 p.m. I'm old. I'm in bed by like 10:30. But I will do that again tonight if there's any big developments over on Instagram. But guys, this is fucking crazy. Do you know who showed up over there too? You're not even going to believe this. Rebel Wilson, when she did not get the writing credit she wanted on the set of The Deb, went to none other but Ari Emanuel. Not once, but twice. Yes, there were emails that are part of that lawsuit where Rebel Wilson went crying to Ari Emanuel to fix it for her. I did not have Ari Emanuel on my bingo card for that lawsuit, but he's there. So we're going to look at some of my notes from last night and some of the articles that are coming out. I'm actually impressed. The Australian press is covering it really well, honestly. And then we're going to briefly look at Erica Kirk crashing out dressed as an assassin in one of the worst PR moves yet. I don't know if she has anyone advising her, but I suggest she get someone advising her ASAP. If it's Andrew Colvett, I mean, he's supposed to be a crisis PR guy. Maybe he just needs to go. He needs to retire. He sure as shit needs to get off of the Charlie Kirk Show YouTube channel and podcast. And they need to bring in new crisis management because what a mess over there. So we're going to get into all of that today. But after I drop in and say hi to everyone, I want to start with some good news in regards to some beagles. So, and Ricky Gervais is helping out some beagles. So we're going to get into some good news because I think we all just, we all just need it. And I feel like anyone on this channel is an animal lover. So I feel like this will be a good way to start the stream officially today. Like the stream, please. Yes, settle in. Grab your coffee. Maybe it's in your Trust No Headline mug from the merch store. Mine is. Happy Friday Eve, guys. It's Friday somewhere. It is Friday somewhere. It's Friday in Australia. It's so nice to see you guys. If you put aviators on Erica, she would have looked like the Unabomber. You know, she needs to just go away, honestly. Like, you can be the CEO and not the face, and it's just wild. So we will definitely get there. But let's start with some great news. Let me even make sure I have, oh, yeah, I do. Oh, I'm so happy. So there's been this beagle testing facility that's been trying to get shut down for a long time. They claimed there was no violations of animal welfare. I can't believe we can actually say that you can test on animals and there not be violations of animal welfare. Like, that's not a world I want to live in, first of all. But second, a judge did find at one point that there were reasons to believe there were violations in animal welfare. And they were supposed to release these 2,000 beagles by July 1st. I think the deadline was July 1st. And there was nothing being done. Like, it was hush, hush, hush. And so there was growing concern that what they were actually going to do is sell the beagles to another laboratory because they were getting shut down, but they could make a lot of money off of, like, this is kind of sad, but body parts or the beagles to send them to other laboratories. So there was, I don't know if anyone's been following this, but a lot of activists like breaking in, they were able to save 23 beagles. And Ricky Gervais had been stepping in as well, supporting the rescue of 2,000 beagles at this U.S. facility. And we just found out within the last 48 hours that they've agreed to release 1,000, which is just wild to think there's Sorry. Oh my God, I'm losing my voice already. It's just wild to me to think that there's 2,000 beagles at this facility. And beagles are well known for being used because they're so sweet and they will trust you no matter what you do to them. Like they'll be kind to you. They will trust you no matter what you do to them. So we have this. And then I have some of the great news over my Instagram stories. So let me pull that up here. But 1,000 beagles have been released or will be released. Let me pull it up here. So we have this breaking news. Ridgeland Farms agrees to release nearly 1,000 beagles. Here's a statement. It says this week, following a series of negotiations, Ridgeland Farms reached an agreement to sell a substantial majority of its dogs to groups that offer to purchase the animals. Something to keep in mind is like sell. The number floating around is that they sold the 1,000 beagles for $1 million. We don't know who stepped in and paid that. I kind of have a feeling it's Ricky Gervais that paid the bill to get them out. But considering the other option was likely them just being sold to another facility, unfortunately, I think we take what we can get. So it's a big win. Then we have Ricky Gervais, the rescue of, it says 2,000. There's 2,000 at the facility. They've agreed to release 1,000. From Ridgeland Farms, backed by comedian Ricky Gervais, has began a day early with rescuers beginning their action earlier than planned. So they're already in there. They're already helping the beagles. And it says beagles used to or bred for animal testing are being saved. So I thought it was just a really nice way to start the stream today with a win. I know it's just I'm an animal lover. I run a farm animal sanctuary. I'm vegan. I do not believe in animal testing. So I just thought it was a really cool way to start the stream today with a win for the animals. I think we need them. Okay, where do we start? Let's start with Rebel Wilson. I'm going to pull up Instagram stories and share what I had written down. It's the crossover event you didn't even realize was going to happen. I mean, we have Jed Wallace, Katie Case, Melissa Nathan, Ari Emanuel. It's just ridiculous. And then I was able to find some of the texts and emails they shared in the trial within the documents. So I can share some of those as well. Just got to backtrack. I had so many. Okay. So Rebel Wilson, I have many videos on this already. The trial is just, there's multiple trials. There's the Australian trial where Charlotte MacInnes, and this is the one that is happening right now, is suing Rebel Wilson for defamation. There's the lawsuit in California with Amanda Ghost against Rebel Wilson. There's also the Doe lawsuit in California, which was regarding the smear website, which we know now Rebel, Jed Wallace, Melissa Nathan, and co. So there is just like, there's so much happening. She said in trial last night that there's 4 lawsuits, and the lawyer for Charlotte MacInnes was like, I thought you said there was 3 on 60 Minutes. This is why I said that interview on 60 Minutes for Rebel Wilson was a bad idea. It was so bad. They just used it against her. She just lied through her teeth the whole time. So they're like, I thought you said there was 3. And she's like, well, Team Russian Oligarch has 4 lawsuits he's leveraging or he's funding against me. I should have had shots ready for every time they said Russian oligarch or billionaire, or every time Rebel Wilson did, which I feel like is going to be the theme at Blake Lively's trial too. Like take a shot every time Blake Lively says billionaire, financier, burying me. It felt like it's going to be deja vu for what's going on in Blake's case. But there's all these lawsuits going down for like it's just hours and hours and hours of coverage I've done on this case. So I'm just trying to give like the Cliff Notes version. The California lawsuit we know is they're doing the discovery. It was reopened for discovery after the text messages came out from Melissa Nathan in the Blake Lively case. Catherine Case was deposed over there. She talked about these websites, the defamation websites. It's just been a mess. But the lawsuit over in Australia has started. Well, it's been starting. It's been started. And this was day 3. Just give me 1 second. There's so much noise in the background and I can't deal with it. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I am back. I can't deal with all the noise. So I had to close some doors. Okay. Oh, I'll give you guys what I felt from the beginning. So when I first started covering this case, for me, it felt as though it was Blake 2.0. And I got a lot of pushback. I got smeared by another content creator about that. But I always said that it felt like, to me, Blake 2.0, that she wanted this writing credit. And when she didn't get what she wanted, she leveraged private conversations against people to take people out, basically, to hurt people that she was angry at. And after watching the last, well, not all night, but the last 3 days of Rebel Wilson's testimony, I am not any further from that belief. So far, this trial has not moved me from the belief that Rebel was pissed, she didn't get what she wanted, and she retaliated. And she leveraged private conversations with Charlotte MacInnes to ruin Len and Amanda and take out Charlotte as well, because she felt that Charlotte had betrayed her or whatever. It's just insane. So that's where I'm still standing on this case. And you guys can make up your own minds, of course, but let's dive in. Okay. Where are we starting in where we... Okay, so where we started last night, I was just trying to get my bearings on where we were last night. Emails came out in this case for Rebel Wilson, where literally she was saying, if I don't get what I want, if I don't get the writing credit, I will block the release of this film. This is so significant because Rebel Wilson publicly blamed Len Blocknick, and Rebel Wilson blamed Len and Amanda Ghost for blocking the film. So publicly, she smeared them, saying that they blocked the film, they ruined the distribution of the film. It was all because of Amanda Ghost and Len and AI Films that the film, The Deb, never got released. But then you see emails come out where Rebel Wilson, and the only evidence we have that's come out so far is Rebel Wilson being the one saying, if I don't get the credit I want, I will sue you and I will prevent the release of the film. And the thing that stood out the most for me was seeing that email, as someone that's followed this case and all the other cases attached to Rebel Wilson, is from the beginning, I've said, you can put aside, fine, you want to say like, and we'll get there, don't worry. You want to say Amanda Ghost and Charlotte MacInnes, like there was the weird shit going on set, or there was sexual harassment on set. Put that aside for a second, because she never filed an official complaint, Rebel Wilson. She never had any concerns about anyone on set at the time it was happening. She only brought it up later when it served her. After the fact, she didn't get what she wanted. Then all of a sudden, all this stuff on set was sexual harassment, and it was really bad. So there was no concerns about Charlotte up until the point where she started making legal threats. She had not really brought up any bad conduct. She had not filed any kind of official complaints. She wanted this credit. So Rebel's lawyer, oh yeah, and then they're bringing out like these emails, right? And Rebel's lawyer is like, objection. This should be excluded because we're like short on time. The judge is like, yeah, no. Charlotte's lawyer comes in and she's like, you publicly accused everyone, Amanda Ghost, Charlotte, etc., blocking the film. Rebel, you are the one that blocked the film. The evidence we have is you are the one that blocked the film. And it was over not getting writing credit and 50% of fees, which resulted in Brian Freeman writing a legal letter. So this is where Brian Freeman enters the chat. And he wrote a legal letter essentially threatening that if she didn't get the 50% of fees and she didn't get the writing credit, they would block the film being released. No, she didn't deserve the writing credit. The AGW, the Australian Writers, AWG, Australian Writers Guild said no. She wanted AI Films to do something illegal and still give it to her. And that's not even what's happening in Australia. It's a defamation case for defaming Charlotte MacInnes. So the writing credit is just leading up to why you smeared this woman. why do you like, it's like Blake, I didn't get what I want, so I'm going to smear you. I didn't get what I want, so I'm going to destroy your life. Like, Charlotte had nothing to do with this. It's obscene. Okay, so then we see this. And what I got from this part of the evidence was, it was never about, I wrote down, it's never about sexual harassment. This is just me typing like as fast as I can in real time, because you can't rewind, there's no replay. So I was just typing as fast as I can in real time. So I wrote down, it was never about sexual harassment or inappropriate behavior on set. She wanted writing credit. Rebel says, I was appealing to the big boss, Len Blofnick, for my writing credit. And this is a person you will see her refer to as like the Russian oligarch over and over and over again. Take a shot because, well, you're going to be wasted if you do. She says it constantly. Even when it doesn't even make sense. She was like, Team Russian oligarch. And even Charlotte's lawyer was like, girl, why are you keep saying this? So she says, I was appealing to the big boss, Len, in this email here. And Charlotte's lawyer says, due to arbitration, you were not owed the writing credit. It was not within the gift of AI, which is the film company Len owns, to give you a writing credit, to which the AWG denied you. Rebel tried to fight for the writing credit. The AWG denied her. So she then goes to Len and sends this email off. And she says, on top of this, Vince Holden has sent me several emails in the past week stating that one, Colleen Camp is never to work on the film, which is bizarre because you sent an email 4 weeks ago proving her and she is helping with strategy of the sale and all around buzz of the film. 2, they are threatening to take the film away from me, which is insane considering I'm not in breach of any of my duties. 3, that I will personally not be receiving a shared writing credit on the film, which was initially promised to me by AI Films Unigram. The second and third points above can cause me to litigate against AI Films Unigram. This is not something I wish to do, but I'm left this week thinking that there's no other choice. Len, I did 18 months of writing work on the film for free. It sounds like Ryan Reynolds. I was writing. Everyone who worked on the film knows I wrote. I am Australia's biggest female comedy export. What is it with these celebrities? Do you know who I am? I have co-starred in the highest grossing musical comedy films of all time. I'm out of pocket over $300,000 for expenses from the film, expenses from which Unigram have been reimbursed for, such as accommodation and travel expenses on the film. I gave all my copyright and the music over to the film for free, but for now I'm simply seeking 1, shared writing credit on the film as promised. 2, all the music contracts to be done in a fair and prompt manner. Please call me anytime to discuss. Okay, and then we get back to some notes about what was being said. Whoa, geez. Back. Charlotte's lawyer says, you've done so Rebel's kind of like alluding to like, I know how the law works, right? And so Charlotte MacInnes' lawyer, and keep in mind, this lawsuit is not about a writing credit. It is about Rebel Wilson smearing the shit out of Charlotte MacInnes and allegedly hacking her Snapchat and her social medias and leaking a nude picture of her. All right. It's egregious. So Charlotte's lawyer, you've done a legal degree, right? Rebel, yes. Lawyer, you can't steal someone's rights. You were not entitled to that attribution, which is the writing credit. Rebel, but the attribution was flawed. So the argument Rebel's been saying all along is like, the attribution was flawed. I still should have got credit. The lawyer says, but you didn't appeal. And Rebel says, no. The lawyer says, you tried to pressure AI Films into something that was unlawful. Rebel, they did it for Washington. They should have done it for me. And I felt that was really, when I was watching everything go down, was really telling for me is, well, they did it for someone else. Like they bent rules for someone else. They should have done it for me. Again, it kind of just showed the intention. So this is kind of where the smear websites come in. She emails Ari Emanuel making allegations. So, you know, the subject, Len Blofnick and Rebel Wilson, the Deb. My understanding is WME was kind of like the company that was bringing it over to TIFF and was marketing it over in Toronto. WME does this for Taylor Swift as well. So the Eras Tour, for example, they handled like the marketing and everything. So she goes to Ari Emanuel to complain. And she says, "Hi, Ari. I just thought I'd write to you personally because Justin Brad from WME told me Len contacted you recently about my situation on an Australian film project, The Deb. Here are the facts. I wrote, produced, and directed the film after personally developing it for 4 years and putting it on stage in my theater in Sydney as part of the development. Len's people, principally a woman called Amanda Ghost, was the first person I pitched it for financing. They agreed to give me $15 million to fund it, give me 50% ownership and a record deal for the soundtrack as I was the owner of all the music copyright." I do think this is also a thorn in Rebel's side. Hey, no one has to agree with me. You can even apparently these days smear me with fake information if you don't agree with me on this case. The thing for me is certain themes that come up over and over again seem to be the thorn for her. Her attacks on Charlotte seem to be more personal in the fact of like, you got what I wanted, because she says here a record label deal for the soundtrack. And one of the things she smears, and you're going to see Charlotte for, is, well, I'm glad that record deal was worth it. So I have no issues with Len personally. So at this point, she apparently has no issues with him. Then he's the Russian oligarch everywhere that is procuring young women with Amanda Ghost. So I have no issues with Len personally and only try to bring it to his attention the bad behavior of the people who worked for him, which included 1, inappropriate relations with lead actress on the film who now coincidentally a WME client, Charlotte MacInnes. 2, embezzling $900,000 from the budget above and beyond the large producer fees they were already getting under the contract. 3, Amanda Ghost's husband detained me in a room on the second day of shooting in Australia for 90 minutes, demanding I sign documents that were giving away my IP and trying to silence me about the 2 above points. And 4, threatening and harassing me after I went to Len about the above things to the point where I had to hire personal security. All right, so she goes to Ari Emanuel, and I say, of course, Ari Emanuel's in the mix of this. Like, I feel like people just go to Ari now to fix their problems, which goes to show you Ryan and Blake going to Ari. They knew he would like fix their problems. It seems to be what people do. They go straight to Ari Emanuel and they want people taken care of. Charlotte's lawyer, Okay, so Charlotte's lawyer, there was a warning from the okay, so they're talking about TIFF. So the Toronto International Film Festival. Because part of this smear campaign was like this anger Rebel had about TIFF and the movie being at TIFF. And so at this point last night, Charlotte's lawyer is trying to say, like, it wasn't Amanda or Len that blocked this. It was all the issues around the movie. So Charlotte's lawyer said there was a warning from the Australian Writers Guild of withdrawal of tax credits and it had to be sorted out regarding issues with showing the film at TIFF. So it seems like Rebels, what her lawyer was saying is Rebels' threats over writing credits and potential lawsuits. So the legal letters that Brian Freeman was sending out was creating issues for the movie being shown at TIFF. So basically, the movie couldn't be shown regardless, even if you have everything set up. So this is when Rebel made the sexual harassment, etc. allegations, and this is where everything blew up. Rebel says she keeps throwing Brian Freeman under the bus. Like, she just kept throwing Brian Freeman under the bus. Freeman's words and style isn't how I would have described the incident. So she's saying it's not my fault that, you know, there was like all this hubbub around the movie and this worry about tax credits being taken. She's like, it was Brian Freeman. He was too aggressive, basically, around this. So she says, you know, that's not how I would have described it. That was Brian Freeman. So it wasn't my fault. And this was a letter of demand from Freeman and Rebel. It appears to have prevented the showing at TIFF, but Rebel has publicly accused, again, Amanda Ghost and Len. Rebel says it was never going to lose its... and it was like, the way she delivered this line was like, it was never going to lose its tax credits. Like, what the fuck do you know? That's how it was delivered. And Charlotte's lawyer says, are you a tax professional? And Rebel goes, pardon me? And she said, well, are you a tax professional? And Rebel says, I'm a director. All right. I was like typing as fast as I can. I was typing so fast. I was like on my phone too. I didn't have my computer. So yeah, it trust me, bro. So the lawyer says 16th of July, you had a call with Freeman and Melissa Nathan. And Rebel kind of goes, and you have to picture every time Rebel Wilson answers, I'm not even joking. And then you get like a 15-minute word salad recipe and you don't get the answer. And Charlotte's lawyer called her out on that multiple times, but you still don't get a straight answer. So that's a no. Yeah. Are you a tax professional? Well, I'm a director. So no, I'm going to take you as a no there. It was bananas. I'm hoping this case is filmed in California against Amanda Ghost. And I imagine this is how Blake will be on the stand. You couldn't pin Rebel down to anything. And I think it's also because she knows she's had so many stories out there. When we originally watched her 60 Minutes interview ages ago, I was like, these aren't true. She's lying about not posting things on the Deb Instagram page. I saw them with my own eyeballs. But she's like, on the 60 Minutes, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I never did that. Or she said, I don't recall. So Rebel goes, well, they were contracted by Freeman, tosses him under the bus again. Like she's trying to distance herself from Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace, and everyone. So again, she tosses him under the bus and she's trying to position it as like Freeman said he would take care of this. Like Brian Freeman said he would take care of this. He brought people in to take care of it. Like, what do I know? So the lawyer says Freeman confirmed on July, I don't know if it was 15th or 16th. I have those two dates there. Had a call with Rebel Wilson and Melissa Nathan over services. Do you remember that call? And Rebel's beating around the bush, right? She's like, no, I don't recall. And then she's like, okay, well, the next day there was a call with Brian Freeman, Melissa, and the PR team with you. Do you remember that call? And then she, like the lawyer for Charlotte keeps pushing. And eventually you get from Rebel, I remember the initial call, but that's it. And this is where she gets caught on a couple things because she word salads herself so badly that she ends up admitting the thing. So she had already said, no, I wasn't on this initial call. And then eventually she's like, yeah, I remember the initial call, but I wasn't on any others. The lawyer says you were part of an email chain with Freeman and Tag, correct? And Rebel says, no, I don't remember that. So she starts denying these email chains. Later on, she stops denying the email chains, but she switches it to, you're not getting that information because it's privileged because Brian Freeman was in on them. So it's like, girl, were there email chains or not? Because 1 minute you're saying there wasn't, and now you're saying, too bad, so sad for you. You don't get that information. I was getting like gray hair just listening. I would not have had the patience. I could not be a lawyer. I'd be freaking out. So it looks like there's a lot of communications end of July, beginning of August. She eventually agrees to speaking with both Freeman and Melissa on the initial call that she had originally denied. She claims she may have, after pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, finally claims she may have sent PR messages. She's not turned any of those over. Now she's claiming the phone was stolen. Then she was claiming that the WhatsApp wasn't saving, or Signal wasn't saving the messages. So there's been multiple reasons on why she doesn't have these anymore. But wait, because later she admits she has them. You can't make this up. This is what's going to happen to Blake. So she's given all of these reasons on the stand on why she doesn't have these messages anymore. And then later she's like, yeah, I think I have them, or, I think I can find them. And this is a problem for me. When you get caught in so many lies, how do you expect me to believe you? So many lies. Then you want me to believe that you, even though it doesn't seem like there's any proof, you were owed certain things, even though the AWG said you're not, that certain things happen on set. The lawyer for Charlotte MacInnes did such a beautiful job of like showing her contradicting stories and how she makes up things on the fly. It was quite incredible, like from a psychological standpoint of how she could make up and come up with new stories on the spot. So then she says she may have sent these, but she hasn't turned them over. She's also claiming to not know who this Newman, I think they said Newman on the text chain is. Rebel says she won't get any information from Freeman or Melissa because it's privileged. Like, she literally tells the lawyer at court, she's like, you're not getting that. It's privileged. So Charlotte's lawyer goes, you don't get to decide what is privileged. You turn it all over and you make notes on what is privileged, but you got to turn it over. You can't just decide something is privileged. To which Rebel was just like blinking at her, like deadpan. And then there's an objection from Rebel's lawyers. Judge overrules it. Rebel produced no communication with Tag, even though she was supposed to. There was some communication she gave much later, but she was supposed to give it all the way up to July and August, but she just decided that she's Rebel Wilson and she doesn't need to, and that she can determine what is privileged and what is not. Then Rebel, when she keeps getting pushed, she goes, I don't believe there was ever a call to turn over communication with Brian Freeman. And Charlotte's lawyer goes, yes, there was. And then, like, she's got the receipts, right? So she pulls up the receipts and she's like, there you go. Rebel again is like deadpan. She's just like, you could just see the wheels turning of how do I get out of this? So on the list, it was Brianna Butler. You're going to recognize all these names: Catherine Case, Carolina Hurley, Brian Freeman, Melissa Nathan, and Jed Wallace. So that was supposed to be all turned over, but she's claiming because in the chat thread, Brian Freeman was in the PR chat thread, that it is therefore all privileged and can't be turned over, which I'm going to be honest. So now I'm like, is that on purpose that he's in the PR chat threads? I don't know. Yeah, that was basically her the whole time. Rebel, no comment. It was wild. I may have to start watching this trial. It is insane. Even my husband last night, he was like, I didn't even want to watch this, but I can't stop watching it. That is how he doesn't care about any of these celebrities, and he couldn't stop watching last night. Like, that is how insane this was. The entitlement of some of these actresses. And that's the thing that pissed me off the most with Rebel was like, well, they bent rules for other people, so they should have done it for me too. And I was like, oh, I just clocked you. And you know, I'll stay open. I'm willing to change my mind, guys. I said that from the beginning when I first started covering this case. And I said, it sounds like Blake 2.0, but I'm willing to change my mind. All last night did for me was show that this is exactly what it was. Because she started yesterday with like, well, they bent rules for other people. They should have done it for me. It's just, y'all, it doesn't start till 8 p.m. Eastern. And I am too old to stay up all night, but it is so wild. So Rebel says, I don't think there was a call to turn over my communication with Freeman. Like, she lies to the person that would have sent it. And lawyer goes, yes, there was, brings the receipt, slaps it down in front of her face. Because Rebel only produced after a certain date. She continues to refuse. She's continuing to push back. She's continuing to say like, well, okay, well, I don't even have them anymore, but you're kind of getting glimpses at this point that maybe she definitely does still have them at this point. So Charlotte's lawyer did a great job, like just continuing to push her with this word salad. So Rebel had been asked again on Tuesday, like just the other day, to produce all communications, still refuses. She's playing so dumb. And I make a note here. I'd lose my mind as Charlotte's lawyer. The is insane. Okay. So then. So this is one of the text chains. They got this from someone else. This one is Rebel Wilson, a malicious bully. I think I've shown these ones previously on the channel as well, because they've been part of Discovery. It says, I'm flagging this for you. So it said, Rebel Wilson, legal NPR. So they're all in one chat. So I don't know if Brian Freeman turned this over. Someone turned this over though, because Rebel sure as shit didn't. So is Rebel Wilson a malicious bully? I'm flagging this for you. There's a link up top. As Melissa is in transit back from Toronto after some delays. Rebel, this is clearly their desperate attempt at getting to embrace for our story. Getting to embrace, maybe they mean brace for our story. But it's not going to work. This is written as opinion and not fact. It's a column. We have a strong piece in the mail coming alongside Rolling Stone. She certainly did not give us notice of this. I know it will be upsetting to read them speak positively of her, but as this is a columnist, ties our hands pretty extensively on what we can correct. Because what you can do is like go in and force essentially the hand of journalists to edit it. No one cares about the successes of a no-name producer. They will care when they are not flattering. Apologies for flagging late in the evening. Just wanted to have you all see as soon as possible. And then Rebel Wilson, who, again, remember, has claimed that no, she wasn't a part of this chain. No, what chain? I don't know what you're talking about. Team, I'm obviously very upset by this, and I think we have read this one before. You were supposed to get the negative information out about Ghost and have failed to do that, and now instead, Amanda has yet again managed to get multiple articles out spreading the absolutely false narrative that this is their baseless defamation suit. From a legal perspective, you have advised me not to file, which is preventing my side of the story and factual evidence to come out. I honestly can't believe this is happening. I have done nothing wrong. I was universally liked and respected by all cast and crew on the film. I've been an absolute professional. You guys as a team are better than Camille, etc. And yet I'm getting slaughtered. This is my life and career. You need to do something now. Have something done now. So Camille is Camille Vasquez, who you're going to recognize from the Johnny Depp trial. So then they get into, Then Charlotte's lawyer is masterfully setting up that every email, because remember, Rebel Wilson is going, what is a website? What is the word smear? No, I did not create a smear website. And then she threw on 60 Minutes, Brian Freeman under the bus and was like, well, no, it was Brian and his people. Like, I don't know what they did, but I wasn't involved. Then in this trial, I know this is like a web. It's insane. Then in this trial in Australia, and even in the documents that came out in the California trial, well, you're seeing documents of Rebel Wilson sending the initial draft to Melissa Nathan and Catherine Case. And it has like her business header on it. And so really masterfully done, I felt. The way Sue, I think is Charlotte's lawyer's name, laid it out was she was laying the bricks where you could see everything Rebel had put in emails ended up on the website. And one of the things Catherine Case or Katie Case had admitted is she was like, well, yeah, like I got the file from like Melissa and it seemed to be from Camp Sugar or Pop Sugar or whatever, Rebel's company. And I edited it and kind of put it together to go up on the website. And Katie Case had said there was nothing to back up the claims about Amanda Ghost being this Indian Ghislaine Maxwell. There was nothing to back it up. And so kind of where I think they were setting the stage of like, this was all you. This was retaliation. You were pissed off. You didn't get the 50%. You didn't get the writing credit. And you can see how they, like her anger going higher and higher and higher. Like she's messaging Ari Emanuel. She's getting, like she originally was on good terms with Len. But then of course, once she's denied the credit, now Len's this horrible person that's procuring young women with Amanda Ghost for prostitution and dealing with Ghislaine Maxwell, Russian oligarchs. Like it is just flying off the handle. So she shows these emails where it's literally the list of names that ended up on the smear website. And this is where you start to see, she's still calling Len at this point, dearest Len. Not just to his face, but in communications to Ari Emanuel, she's like, I don't have a problem with Len. Oh, how quickly the tides turned. So this email here was just it's setting the stage. Like these are the people that had a problem with Amanda Ghost. And so you got like freaking Brandy on there. You got Shakira on there, Baz Luhrmann. It's just insane. So James Blunt. And those are the exact same people that ended up on the website. Then Sue, Charlotte's lawyer, goes, are you threatening Len? Like in this email? She's basically like, these other people leave a path of destruction. Okay, let me go up a bit. I had nothing to gain by telling you of the inappropriate behavior. So again, at this point, Len's not a problem. She's on good terms with Len, who owns AI Films, and she went to for financing. So he financed her film, or well, whoever's film, the Deb. So I had nothing to gain by telling you the inappropriate behavior, primarily of Amanda and Gregor, but also of Vince. I just wanted to stop and to have the 50-50 deal as promised. So I didn't want, oh, hey, Lan, it's so nice to see you. Hello. So you have it in emails. I didn't want to go here. I didn't want to tell you how problematic Amanda Ghost is, but I had no choice because I just want the 50-50 deal as promised. So you can see in her own words how she escalates. And she's like, this is all I want. This will go away. Who does that sound like? Blake Lively. Just give me what I want. Say the stupid apology that my husband wrote for you. Give me rights over the film, and no one has to know. I won't go to the media. I won't ruin your life. It's the exact same shit Blake Lively pulled. Like, this is exactly what Ryan and Blake pulled with Justin. Just apologize. Give us the movie. Roll over. Take one for the team. Take one on the chin. So her own words, I just wanted to stop and to have the 50-50 deal as promised. I have worked hard to make you a profit and create a great film. These other people leave a path of destruction, which is interesting, those words, because the smear website was called Amanda Ghost is a Destroyer of Worlds, which just slays me every time. Amanda Ghost is a destroyer of worlds. So it just was interesting verbiage because to me, it's very similar. And she says, they're the opposite of goodwill. I know they're in your ear telling you absolute lies. I know they may sound convincing, but you're incredibly intelligent and must see that the evidence against them has amassed. You must see that people from opposing or opposite sides of the world working on different projects seem to report the same thing. And that's only the people brave enough to tell an important man like you directly. Behind the scenes, there are hundreds who don't have that courage. All right, Rebel. And then the lawyer goes, did you threaten him? And Rebel goes, I wouldn't threaten a Russian oligarch. I don't think it was a threat. Take a shot for a Russian oligarch. And again, I keep writing down as a note to myself, like, keep in mind, she keeps accusing Len and Amanda of, it's everyone else's fault that Toronto was canceled. Then she writes to Len again. Len, the unfair and grossly abhorrent attack on me in the press today by your people is criminal. I am now canceling Toronto and all sales promotion of the film and will be going public as to why. Thank you again for the opportunity and sad it has turned out this way, but I will not be putting any more energy, time, and finances into this project. And then she played it off in court as like, no. I just meant like I wouldn't show up. I wouldn't be seen on the red carpet with them. Is there a playbook for these people? Is there a playbook? Because she's playing it off as like, no, I didn't mean I would block the movie, even though you have multiple emails of me saying I would block the movie and prevent the release of the movie. No, ignore all those emails that say I would block the release. Ignore the letter from my lawyer that says we would prevent the release of this movie because, he used words I wouldn't use. I'm not responsible for my lawyer. What the hell? No, I just meant that I wasn't going to show up on the red carpet for it. So the lawyer at this point is trying to get her to admit what's written on paper, like black and white in front of her face. And then Rebel finally says, because she's like, this is, you're threatening him, basically. And she goes, well, maybe on that day I was particularly emotional, maybe. And I wrote as a note to myself, she isn't answering anything. She emails Ari Emanuel again at this point. It was so masterfully done by Sue. Like, silent clap for Sue. It was beautifully done. She's very obviously a very talented lawyer. The way she just set up the timeline, you're like, holy shit. You can see the escalation in real time. Like, you can see her getting more pissed. And then each time she sends an email to someone, it's like more information, like Amanda Ghost is like this destroyer of worlds. She's a bad person. All these people hate her. But you, Len, dearest Len, intelligent Len, I love you. And the interesting thing is normally I would have said, okay, well, she's just sucking up to Len, but she's telling Ari in the original emails as well. I like Len. I like him. I have no problem with him. So it's not even like she's just being nice to Len's face. She was telling other people, like, he's not my problem. Apparently he was, because, So then she doesn't get what she wants. Len will not give her the 50%, will not give her the writing credit. She goes back and cries to Ari. She says, "Hi, Ari, I really need your help with Len. What is it with these people? Can someone explain what is it with these people? They run directly to Ari Emanuel when there's a problem. Like, Ari, fix my problem." That's basically what was happening. "So I need your help with Len. They're actively paying for stories to try and destroy me purely out of spite and retaliation. You know what his people are like from the Baz Luhrmann situation. They're vile and disgusting. So now he's a bad guy. Up until this point, he was fine. And I have a list of 15 other people." So now she's like bringing everyone that she was trying to turn Len against Amanda, and those emails, it didn't work. So now she's turning Ari against everyone. And the irony of saying someone's vile and disgusting to Ari Emanuel. Like, I mean, the bar is, it's fucking Ari Emanuel, all right? And I'm not saying that Amanda Ghost or Len Blofnick are like the angels, the emblem of living a good life. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you can see a clear timeline of her escalating, and it's all over. It's all over. I want my credit. That's what she keeps saying in the messages. I want my credit. I'm just going to open the window a bit. And like you hear over and over where she's like, "I didn't want to get to this point, but I just want my credit." I wouldn't have said anything. Y'all just gave me my credit. And then she's threatening to block the movie. So she's going in. She says, "I know how busy you are, and I have been a loyal WME client for 14 years, and I can't have this happen." Now, I didn't realize that she was a WME client, to be quite honest. But she says, "I know how busy you are, and I've been a loyal WME client for 14 years, and I can't have this happen and really need help from you and the agency. I made a fantastic original movie on a relatively small budget. What is it with these people? I've done nothing wrong. I reported the bad behavior of Len's people to Len. I'm extremely confident in the evidence I have against them and stand by my claims 100%. They claimed to offer me a buyout option, but then did not present clean terms and then rescinded this as an option. When you're threatening them with lawsuits and shit, like that may be why they took back their offer. At this point, I would still like a clean buyout, whether it's them buying me out or me buying them out. It's clear the parties cannot work together as 50-50 partners." And then me, "Are any celebrities," this is like a note to myself, "are any celebrities safe from Rebel and Blake? Every celebrity catching strays between these two." I mean, you have like Shakira catching strays, James Blunt catching strays, like everyone's name. Well, that's what I'm thinking too. It's got to be Ari's playbook. It's got to be. Oh, interesting. She's not with WME anymore. It was relatively recent that she signed with a new agency. Interesting. We will get to Wayfarer stipulation. We will get there, guys. Can we just stay on track with my ADHD? I can't have multiple conversations going at once. Please and thank y'all. We'll get there. Don't worry. I want to do this first, though. This is a case I've been following for a while, and it's a lot of the same players. So it's kind of wild how this has all come together. So this is kind of this is why I really like the jury's people of your peers, right? It's like your everyday basic bitch citizen that doesn't know legal stuff. And so when she said this, Sue, Charlotte's lawyer, I was like, I was already thinking this, which to me makes someone so great at their job where you're thinking it before they even have to say it. So the lawyer said, "You used Charlotte for your own purposes and benefit, didn't you?" She again starts to deny using the websites. Like Rebel then goes into the websites. "I didn't do the websites. I didn't create the websites." It's like, well, that wasn't the question. So the lawyer brings it up again and then says, "Okay, well, fine, Rebel, fine. You're claiming you didn't do the websites. Let's put the websites aside then. Every time you referred to Charlotte in an allegation she was the victim of sexual harassment, you didn't do it out of any concern for her." And Rebel says, "I disagree." Now, remember, Rebel is also positioning herself as like the advocate for women, the champion for women, just like Blake Lively, when she's leaking allegedly nudes of Charlotte. But, Rebel says, "I disagree." Lawyer says, "I'm talking about 2024. The lawyer says, every time you refer to my client, you haven't referred to her because of concern or care for her. It was because of you. You did it for yourself. Isn't that right? And then she starts to deny it again. Rebel then gets into this, like, the lawyer saying, you didn't really care about Charlotte. It was never about Charlotte. You never reported it. You never encouraged her to report it. Nothing. And so Rebel then gets into this weird rant about how, like, it was off. Like, it was almost like she was trying to follow a script in her head and hit talking points. And she's like, well, I was bullied for telling the truth. I was bullied by the Team Russian oligarch for telling the truth. She legit kept calling it Team Russian oligarch on the stand. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what this is all about and what the smear campaign was about, I don't know what to tell you. She felt like everyone was on Amanda and Len's side and against her, and this is how things devolved. So she goes on to this rant that she was bullied by Team Russian oligarch. Yes, she literally said those words. The lawyer says, compared to my client, aren't you rich and powerful? And I thought I want to pause here because I thought this was actually a really good point that I hadn't even thought of, not from this perspective for Blake and Justin's trial as well, but Rebel's trying to say, like, I'm fighting a billionaire, right? That's part of what her argument is. I'm fighting a billionaire. I'm fighting this Russian oligarch billionaire that has unlimited funds to take me out. And I thought it was a really clever position to take, where Charlotte's lawyer was like, but aren't you rich and powerful and connected compared to my client? And Rebel was not willing to answer that, because she's like, well, compared to Charlotte MacInnes, you are rich and powerful, which I thought was a great argument, to be honest. But then Rebel goes into, well, I don't know. Looks like she lives a really lavish lifestyle. It was so petty. And the lawyer goes, don't you only know that because you hired someone to hack her Snapchat? So it comes out in court that allegedly Rebel hired someone to hack Charlotte MacInnes' Snapchat. There's also allegations that she was essentially stalking Charlotte. It's wild. And then Rebel doesn't know how to answer. Like, she is just dumbfounded by this. She at first is like, no, of course not, but then doesn't really know where to go with this. And the lawyer can tell, and she goes, you're nervous because you're not sure we can prove it, right? And it was funny because when she said that, I was like, she seems to be like, you could almost see the wheels turning in Rebel's head of like, shit, do they have like proof of this? You could almost see it. And then the lawyer says, you're nervous because you're not sure we can prove it, right? Which is crazy. So then you get into all the shit Rebel was sharing in her stories. Like, she was crashing out in her Instagram stories. So she says, when an actress on her first feature film is asked by a producer to stay in the same apartment as them and then makes a complaint, as the director is saying, said producer asked her to have a bath and shower with her and it made her feel uncomfortable. What am I supposed to do? And part of the argument from Charlotte's lawyer too, well, Rebel's like, well, I never said her name. And in the beginning, she just kept saying lead actress, first feature film, lead actress, first feature film. And Rebel tried to play it off and started to name all the women on the set. And Charlotte's lawyer's like, no. I don't want you to name all the women on the set. Who is the lead actress? And Rebel just wouldn't say it out loud, because Rebel was trying to say that Charlotte exposed herself. Charlotte's the one that came out to clear things up and exposed herself. And the lawyer's like, because you're posting all this shit everywhere constantly. The lawyer says, on your own evidence, you say she told you that she felt uncomfortable. Then the next day you claim she said she didn't feel uncomfortable. So originally Rebel was like, originally I got the feeling that she was uncomfortable. It seemed as though she was uncomfortable. But then Charlotte came to me and was like, oh my God, that wasn't what I meant. I did not feel uncomfortable. And so Charlotte tried to clear it up with her. There was also text messages that came out, I think this was 2 days ago, from Rebel Wilson and Amanda Ghost. And Amanda Ghost was like horrified. She was like, I'm horrified that she was uncomfortable. Oh my God, I can't believe this. And then Rebel Wilson had messaged Amanda Ghost after and was like, oh no, she cleared it up. Everything was fine. And Amanda Ghost was like, oh my God, thank God. Like these are text messages. This isn't me making this shit up. Amanda Ghost was like, thank God. Like I wouldn't want her to be in that situation or something along those words. But those text messages, Rebel never presented. Oh no, the horses are staring at me like, can you bring us lunch? Now we're hungry. So she was excluding anything that went against what she had kind of painted as having happened. So Rebel keeps changing her stories around Charlotte. She then goes off into like a random story that Charlotte wasn't sure if she wanted to go to a bar at the end of filming with Amanda or something. It was so random. It was so off topic. I was like, this is just weird. Like you couldn't get a straight answer from her. The lawyer says you've made all of that up about her being uncomfortable. Rebel says there were witnesses, and the lawyer is basically like, who? Because you never called them. You never brought them into court if there were witnesses. So Rebel's saying, well, there were witnesses, but no one's corroborating her story. She says, the lawyer says, you were trying to paint Charlotte as dishonest, being a dishonest person, weren't you? And Rebel says, well, she changed her story due to enticements. She flip-flopped. Which at the end of the day, like Rebel had one of the things I keep coming back to, she had no problem with anything until she didn't get what she wanted. That's when she was crashing out. That's when she exposed Charlotte. She never fought. Like, even if you could argue, okay, she was genuinely concerned about Charlotte, she took no steps at all to show that in the beginning. So Rebel never publicly disclosed that Charlotte clarified to Rebel within 24 hours. She never felt uncomfortable. At no point did Rebel make a formal complaint about behavior on or off set. Rebel also never checked in with Charlotte to make sure she was okay, or even to ask if, like, do you want to make a complaint? Can I help you make a complaint? None of that happened. None of it happened. The only time we heard about it is when she crashes out on Instagram. And then Rebel's excuse for all of this. This is how Rebel Wilson justifies all this and is like, I didn't defame her. It's all fine. She says, what I posted didn't seem to harm her. She's getting benefits. This is what she says in court. What I posted didn't seem to harm her. She's getting benefits. Lawyer, did you just say you are a professional person? Because Rebel Wilson's like, I'm a professional person. And then she says, a professional person that put up an IG post or Instagram post about the star of a film that wasn't sold and said the star was for sale. Is that right? The Russian oligarch billionaires. That's not made up. That's what she said. Yeah. We went from this. You said you're a professional person. You put up a post calling out the star of the film saying she's for sale. Because the argument is, well, they bought Charlotte. They gave her a record contract. They did things for her to take back her claims. Her claims that had no formal complaint that Rebel didn't give a shit about until later. And her answer is, well, but the Russian oligarch billionaires. It's insane. The Australian government channel is airing my new favorite dark sitcom, right? It is insane. And it's provided by the Australian government. So one note I made, and then the lawyer says, well, Miss Wilson, you paid TAG $25,000 a month. So she's trying to say, like, it's not as if you are like someone that doesn't have money or anything. Like, you paid TAG. You had a defense or a PR defense. And she keeps coming back to, like, keep in mind, Charlotte is, you are the rich and powerful compared to Charlotte. And then Rebel would keep being like, well, Len is, Team Russian Oligarch is being funded by Len for all these lawsuits against me. I felt like I was in high school. Or yeah, like a TV show. Yeah, intimidation by who? Rebel was the one lying and stalking and called her the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell and mocked her. Yep. Yeah, I don't discuss Reddit threads. I'm going by what's going on in court, and there is someone that just hates me and will probably smear me for having opinions on this. So I go by what's happening in court. I think it's absurd to say Rebel's just like defending herself from the bad guys. Have we not paid attention? She is the bad guy. We literally have emails where she's like, if you don't give me what I want, I will block the movie. I won't show up. I sending legal threats. I didn't want to tell you about this. I didn't want to tell you about sketchy people, but I'm going to do it so I can get what I want. And then Rebel's trying to play the victim here. I'm sorry. That's fucking bananas. But also there's theories about this case. So when I first started covering this case, I got smeared by a content creator, just for clarification, for talking about this case. She went on a 3-day fucking rant on her Instagram with lies, defamation, straight up lies about me, because I was covering a case she was covering. So I do not follow Reddit. I don't go on Reddit. I don't want to know what's going on in Reddit, because she's probably going to smear me because I talked about it again. So I go by what I see in court. I'm open to changing my mind, but everything I've seen so far is that even if there was something that made Rebel feel uncomfortable on set, she didn't tell anyone. The only time she told people is when she could leverage it. Kind of like Blake. Oh, all of a sudden Blake didn't have, it was fine, the circumcision thing. It was fine this, it was fine that, until she could leverage it to get what she wanted. And that's my opinion. No one has to listen to me for my opinion. So Rebel's trying to play the victim, I write here, to massively wealthy people. So she keeps bringing it back similar to Blake of like, but billionaires, but Steve Sarowitz. And she keeps saying, but you're the wealthy person to my client. So this is where the timeline matters. So Rebel doesn't get what she wants. So what does she do? Well, 2 days after Charlotte put her lawsuit in place, all of her her social media is hacked, and pictures from her Snapchat are being shared by Rebel Wilson after it's hacked, 2 days after Charlotte started the lawsuit against Rebel. So there's a belief, and they had said that Rebel had hired someone to hack Charlotte's content, her social media, that she was stalking her, that she was harassing her. Y'all, this is on the Deb Instagram page. Oh, thank you. You have an awesome opinion. I'm grateful for it. Well, thank you. Like, you crash out on the movie Instagram page. She posts egregious things on the Deb movie Instagram page. And that came out because the lawyer goes, do you think it's fair attacking a woman like Charlotte on your Instagram page where there's all these millions and millions of followers? And Rebel goes with a straight ass face. She goes, it was on the Deb Film Instagram page. As if it's better. As if it's better. Girl, that's worse. So she was crashing out on the Deb Instagram page. So one of the posts she has, and there were articles run about this. You can find articles online. That's where I got this image from. Charlotte MacInnes in a culturally inappropriate Indian outfit. What is it with like Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, Indian outfit? Rebel's an odd one. An inappropriate Indian outfit on Len Blofnick's luxury yacht in Cannes. Ironically singing a song from a movie that will never get released because of her lies and support for the people blocking the film's release. She put this on the movie's Instagram page. I'm sorry, what? And so I just have here where the lawyer had said, like, is it okay for someone in your position with millions of followers to make any negative comment at all on another actress and what another actress is wearing? And she was like, straight ass face. This was posted on Deb's Instagram as if it's better. It's just so insane. I have a note to myself here. Rebel is so fucking painful. She won't answer anything straight. Using the movie's IG to smear someone. And I said, are her and Blake friends? Lawyer says, Sue says, it was false to say the producers were blocking the film. Okay, so at this point in everything, there were a lot of images that were shared. That you can find online. So there were articles about it previously, but we're already at an hour and we still have to go over the Wayfarer stuff. So we won't go over every picture, but there were a lot of images, and Rebel would not, she kept saying, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't know on who sent them to her. And that's when Charlotte's lawyer was like, well, because you hacked this shit. You were harassing her. You were stalking her. And so then we get to this point where she was running out of time. Sue was running out of time. She didn't have a lot left. And she just kind of kept asking Rebel questions with the idea just for Rebel to lie to everyone's faces. Like, basically, it was like, you've seen everything so far. Let's just ask her point blank and what she says. So the lawyer says it was false to say the producers were blocking the film. Rebel says not false, even though we've seen like a dozen emails of her threatening, legal letters of Freeman saying they will block the film, etc. The lawyer, it was false to your knowledge my client had anything to do with I don't know what I was trying to say, with the blank in this film. I don't know. I obviously miswrote it. It was false to your knowledge my client had anything to do with it was something around blocking the film. Rebel goes, can you repeat? And then Rebel says again, well, she was on Team Russian Oligarch Billionaire. No, I didn't mess up. Because I even said to my husband, wait, what? Is she saying Team Russian Oligarch Billionaire with a straight face in court? Yes, she was. And then the lawyer goes, why do you keep saying that? And then there was an objection. Yeah, she threatened to stop the release of the film in Toronto, but she blames everyone else. Oh, I agree. Blake's going to be just as bad. Mm-hmm. And here's my problem with all of this is like, if Blake or Rebel legitimately felt uncomfortable on set, both of them had the means to file official complaints. Rebel didn't mention anything until she didn't get what she wanted. And then all of a sudden, it's like Rebel was just protecting herself from bad people. The Russian oligarchs were after her. Well, she was buddy-buddy with Len the whole time. Not just to Len's face. So you could say that, well, you know, she's just saying that to like butter up the guy that is financing the movie. No, she was nice about Len in other emails to other people where she's like, I have no problem with Len. Len's a good guy. I have no issue with him. My issue's with Amanda Ghost. So you came in to argue while she's protecting herself from bad people. She never had anything bad to say until she didn't get what she wanted. Yeah, she texted that everything was fine. No worries. Yep. This case proves what TAG is actually capable of. Yeah, and I've said that from the beginning that, you know, and it's got me a lot of heat. You just need Team Russian Oligarch t-shirts in your merch. Oh my God, I do, because the way it would set off that content creator that is constantly smearing me on Reddit would be fucking hilarious. I think I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it just to be a shit disturber. Oh, that's funny. I'm going to Team Russian. I had someone once and was like, it's not funny, you know, with Russian oligarchs. It's because you're Canadian and you don't know. I'm like, I'm Ukrainian. What are you talking about? Like, I have like a dash of like French Canadian in me. I'm Ukrainian. But anyway, that's gold. I'm definitely going to make that. So what was I saying? Yes. This is what I've said for a long time. Jed is he's a wizard at SEO. And I say that with, in many ways, respect for his craft as someone that also works in that field. He is a wizard at what he does. He's very talented at what he does. And I don't mean that in any kind of like fake way or anything. He's very good. Melissa, very good at what she does. She was mentored by one of the biggest names within the PR industry before she left to start TAG, who was also known to be ruthless and a pit bull. They are very talented. So it does show what they are capable for sure. Oh my God. She had her friend who speaks Russian call him to threaten him. Why does that not even surprise me? It doesn't even surprise me. But she was so scared of him. She's so scared of Len. Yeah, it doesn't even surprise me. I've missed some of this case because, again, like I'm too old. Me 10, 15 years ago, I could have stayed up all night. So I appreciate you guys. If you've been dropping some stuff in my DMs as well, keeping me updated. If you're Aussie, you want to shoot me over an email with anything I'm missing, please feel free to. I'm doing my best from Ontario. I do wish I could be in Australia, though. I lived in Australia for a year, and I feel like I left a part of my heart there. Thank you so much, opinion below. And I love your image. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. This case has just been wild to follow. Honestly, it's just insane. And so I appreciate you guys humoring me and hanging out. And, you know, I think in many ways, a lot of people thought it was kind of a boring case and now are realizing how insane this all is. Okay, so then we get, or I say I have a little note. Rebel literally hasn't given one straight answer. This is really hard to get through. The lawyer says you breached Charlotte's trust by posting about her publicly. Rebel says, no, I just said lead actress. And that's where they go back and forth. And the lawyer's like, girl, like this is a lead actress on your film. And Rebel starts listing like every female actress on the film. It was just insane. So I have a note here. Honestly, the evidence looks like she got pissed. Len shut her down. She didn't get the credit and funding she wanted. She kept complaining essentially that they bent the rules for someone else. And Charlotte's lawyer is like, they would be breaking the law by giving you that writing credit. You want them to break the law for you? And she kept going, well, they bent rules for other people. Like, I think that's what a lot of people are missing. The AWG, whether you agree with the Australian Writers Guild or not on their decision, they said no credit for you. Period. I don't understand how it just seems too difficult sometimes for people that are not seeing the evidence for what it is to accept. How is that Len and Amanda's fault? But, it's so insane. So she's saying you breached that trust. Charlotte's lawyer is demanding again for all the messages. Rebel is refusing to turn them over. Rebel eventually, by the end, admitted multiple times she may have them and needs to look. So Charlotte's lawyer that's where I go to bed. Charlotte's lawyer was basically like, all right, well, produce them. And then Rebel's lawyer was like, okay, we will try to find them on the break. One thing I did want to pull up is this, because I missed this part, and CJ's been talking about this case too. So Rebel Wilson's barrister, is it David Sibton, was asking Rebel about her testimony being impacted by people in the courtroom, and Sue shot it down, saying if he raised that, she could cross her on it after. And he was like, fine, I'm done. And he dropped it because Amanda Ghost is in the courtroom, I guess. Rumor has it Camille Vasquez is there as well. But then there's another here. So just before lunch recess, Sue is dropping receipts that go against Rebel Wilson's claim that Team Russian billionaire oligarch. See, I wasn't kidding. She kept saying that. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. That Team Russian billionaire oligarch, who she referred to as Amanda Ghost and Camille Vasquez, had flown in on a private jet funded by Sir Len. He is Sir Len, yes, now, although she calls him Team Russian oligarch. Sue is showing the judge passports and commercial flight logs. Rebel needs to be careful before she catches another case. So she is on the stand saying that Team Russian billionaire oligarch, which are Camille and Amanda Ghost, flew in on a private jet funded by Sir Len. And Sue had to actually show the judge, like, she is lying to your face. She is lying to you. These are the passports. These are the commercial flight logs. It is just insane. So anyway, I'm going to try and stay up later tonight. I mean, I can't promise that, but I'm going to try and stay up later. Camille's presence can make serial killers cringe in fear. I mean, fair. That is fair. She's such a badass. Oh yeah. Rebel's answers were 90%. See, I'm not lying to you guys. I'm not making shit up. That is literally it. She had an explanation for. See, I love that other people are like watching it. They're like helping me out. She had an explanation for every answer. Her agent that testified yesterday had her facts down, came across as credible. Oh, this is insane. Camille's. Oh, yeah. I heard Camille's name mentioned and wonder if that was her. It is. So it's Camille from Johnny Depp. All right. So that's where we're at right now in the Rebel Wilson case. I'm still keeping an eye on what's going on in California for that. And I will keep an eye on what's going on in the lawsuit over there for that. But let's shimmy over to, I mean, we're still in like the same universe. We're still in the same universe because it's like all the same players. You got Brian Freeman, you got Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace, Katie Case. It's insane. So now we're just going to shift over into Wayfarer. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to read this and then we'll watch Little Girl Attorney and Not Actually Golden to see their opinions on this. I'll give my opinion after we watch the lawyers' opinions, but you guys feel free to give your opinions in the chat. So this was filed last night, I think. Dear Judge Lyman, at the final pretrial conference, the court asked Wayfarer Studios LLC and it ends with Us Movie LLC to advise the court whether they would stipulate with respect to the protected activity element of plaintiff's fourth cause of action for retaliation of California's Fair Employment and Housing Act, FEHA. The Wayfarer defendants agree that for purposes of trial only and with respect to the FEHA retaliation claim, the jury will be instructed to presume that Ms. Lively engaged in protected activity by complaining about or opposing a hostile work environment. Right off the bat, I gotta hold off on all my thoughts, but right off the bat, I was like, crap. So I guess the jury's gonna be told to presume that Miss Lively engaged in the protected activity, but let's pop over to TikTok to see what some of the lawyers say. Let's start with Little Girl Attorney. Okay. Oops. Should be it here. Why isn't it? Hopefully it plays. Why is the video gone? Little Girl Attorney, your video. Oh shit, now it's gonna make me. I really just need to log in on the computer, but then I have to figure out what my password is. And that's just not gonna happen. Well, that's weird. All right, I guess we're not watching. The video's not working. That's really weird. Let's go to Not Actually Golden. That's really weird. We'll try again after we watch Not Actually Golden. Maybe it's just a glitch. We'll circle back. Okay, let's.
So they stipulated. And I've been at a end of the season baseball banquet all night thinking about it and trying to figure out how this is going to work. And I think I have more questions. I have so many more questions. Okay, so it's very important that they say for purposes of trial only. So in other words, like for 47.1, they're not going to agree that her complaint was necessarily a protected activity or whatever. And it says the jury will be instructed to presume that she engaged in protected activity. But presumably they won't be told what kind of protected activity, right? Because otherwise, why bother? But that creates so many more questions. I mean, the benefit of this is pretty easy to see, right? That and a lot of this, I will say, has to go with the fact that Lively is the plaintiff and she gets to go first. And that means that we could be looking at the first week of trial is nothing but Lively putting on evidence about how she believes she was sexually harassed. And yes, Wayfarer can cross-examine and undercut that and all that, but she will control the flow of evidence. And she will get all of that into the jury's brain before they even start hearing about all of the other issues. And so keeping her from doing that keeps her from getting momentum early, which is important in a trial, right? It also makes this case only about her damages and the causation issue. And her damages are right now entirely through expert testimony. So depending on what happens next week, after the judge voir dire some of these experts, that may be cut back to some degree about what they can testify about or what numbers are valid and all that kind of stuff. So if you look at it as now this case becomes a causation case and it becomes a case about a rich actress complaining about bad press, then that is obviously a much better narrative for the Wayfarer people, which I think is probably why, at least one of the main reasons why they decided to do this, because it thematically changes the entire case. This is a case about an actress who couldn't stand that she got bad press and nothing else, right? But then you start really thinking about it in practice and, just texting about it with some people. And I got to give Katie credit because she's the one who brought this up. She's like, which protected activity? And it's a good point. What date is the protected activity stipulated to have happened? Because once you get to causation, right, that's part of it, is how far away was the protected activity from the adverse action? So that's a question that I don't know the answer to. And then when I came home from the baseball thing, by the way, my kid got pitcher of the year. I was so excited. And I was in the shower, I started thinking about, okay, but for the contract claim, right? Let's say they do this and this works. And so for the FEHA claim, there's no evidence about her reasonable belief or her protected activity. But for the contract claim, the one based on the rider, for a contract, there has to be mutual agreement and there has to be, right? There has to be a term of the contract that has been breached. And the term of the contract that she's saying was breached was the retaliation section. And so they're going to have to tell the jury retaliation for what, aren't they? And if they don't, let's just say they can find a way not to do that. That document, the 17-point rider, says things in it from which the jury could surmise the type of activity, right? Because it says stuff about nudity riders and coming into your trailer. And so even if you stipulate, isn't some of that going to get in? I don't know. I mean, like I said, they know stuff I don't. They know, they have strategies I don't know anything about. They know what every single one of the 1,000 exhibits on the exhibit list is, and I don't. And so they're going to make the judgment that's best for their clients. And I know that frustrates some people because it's like you want to see them put on the evidence that will undercut Blake Lively's credibility, and you feel like that credibility is undercut when you start talking about the sexual harassment. And I hear that, and I understand that as someone who's been following this case for a year and a half. But I think, remember that for federal court civil juries, you can have as few as 6 jurors. It has to be a unanimous decision, but it doesn't have to be 12 people. It can be 6 people. It can be 8 people. It can be 7 people. It can be 9 people, right? It can be a very small number of people. And all you need is one to be like, I think that those guys are creeps and I'm not going to listen to anything they say. And I was sexually harassed when I was younger, and I think it happened to her too. And that can infect the whole thing, right? That's such a charged topic. And it also takes away from her the ability to frame the retaliation campaign as like a Me Too problem, right? But I think what I'm starting to realize is that, yes, you can say that they're going to take that claim away. They're just going to instruct the jury. We don't dispute that she engaged in protected activity. But when you start thinking about it, like functionally on the ground, there are parts of the causation and the adverse action that are hard to litigate without the jury knowing some of what those allegations were. And so I guess what I don't know is how they're planning on dealing with that. But I think if you're frustrated with it and it's like, oh, I really didn't want them to stipulate whatever, think about how you would feel if you were getting reporting from the trial and for the first 2 weeks, all that you were hearing every single day from the news and from the reports were Blake Lively's talking about the trailer. Blake Lively's talking about Ann Gianetti. Blake Lively's talking about Jenny Slate. And went on for weeks and weeks and weeks before you ever got to hear about Wayfarer putting on its own case. That would probably frustrate people who are pro Baldoni. Now, what I'm really curious about is what pro Lively people think of this, because it cuts both ways for her too. On the one hand, she now has a whole part of her claim she doesn't even have to prove. Like, yay, right? She's got 1 out of 3. On the other hand, it takes away a lot of the evidence that she was going to use to frame the case she wanted to frame. So I think I'm just going to keep thinking about it. Tell me your thoughts. You guys are always smart. You come up with such good ideas. But frankly, even though I think it was in the live the day that the summary judgment motion came out, I think the live we did that day or the next day, I was like, they should just stipulate. And I was like, oh, look at me. I'm so smart. And now I'm like, I just don't like, how's that actually going to work? I don't know.
Okay. And then she mentioned, what's Blake Lively's side say? Oh, you know that they are popping off. So TV and Movie Addict had been posting about this. I guess it's from Reddit. I don't go on Reddit. I don't want to hear about Reddit. I don't want Reddit brought in my world. I do not go near it. It is like not something I want to be around. But apparently from what I'm hearing is Blake's side on Reddit is just celebrating the shit out of this. They're taking this as a massive win for Blake. What seems to be getting positioned in the pro Blake on Threads, like, is that the Instagram version of X? I think it's Threads. On Reddit, on X, etc., is that basically Wayfarer has agreed that she did have these protected activities, that it was a hostile work environment, and they're essentially agreeing with her that there was. I am a bit concerned that Blake's team's going to start running with that. Not so far. There's no PR on that so far, but I am a bit concerned. I'll give my full views after we watch Little Girl Attorney, but I am a bit concerned about the PR push that's going to happen. I'll save all those for a minute. But here's one of the examples. So that means the jury will be fully instructed that Blake Lively did go through SH, that no longer something the jury will have to question, but sure, y'all keep believing it didn't happen. And 2, she'll still get to share some aspects of others' complaints showing patterns. And I think that's what Golden was even speaking about, like, but some of it might still get in. And I believe that's kind of what she was referring to. And then Blake's dragon, who is probably Blake Lively, let's be honest, says after a year complaining through their rapist lawyer and bots that Blake Lively never complained of SH, Wayfarer parties finally admit that they lied and she indeed did complain about sexual harassment in good faith. Another one under celeb legal drama over on Reddit. Wayfarer essentially admits Lively had a reasonable basis to believe Wayfarer engaged in sexual harassment, hostile work environment for purposes of trial only, LOL. So it is blowing up on these celeb Reddit threads, on the pro Blake Lively ones. And so I often get questions like, actually, no one, sorry guys, I'm just like trying my back. You guys know once we get to like an hour and a half, my back starts hurting. A lot of people say, actually, no one actually supports Blake. No one supports her. Girl, they do. They do. It's just like your algorithm hasn't got them over to your space, but they definitely do. Yeah, Reddit is a cesspool sometimes. I want nothing to do with it. Leanne says 4 pages of judge, your decision to allow the mixed motive defensive instruction was not fair. Where? I feel like I missed something. Spin. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. So that is my response to Not Actually Golden on what the Blake side is saying. They are running with this as a absolutely massive win. I'm not seeing headlines yet, but like I said, I would not be surprised if TMZ runs with something today, and TMZ's running a headline that, Justin exclusive means someone gave them someone reached out, right? So, y'all know it'd be Blake's side. Exclusive Justin Baldoni admits that, there was a hostile work environment or something. I wouldn't even be shocked. Not one part of me would be like, oh, shock Pikachu. I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Blake Lively's leveraging this for a PR win, 100%. Okay, so we have it here. Let's watch Little Girl Attorney.
Okay, so we're learning exactly what the inquiry was from the court to the Wayfarer defendants about the FIHA claim. That's the retaliation claim. So it wasn't this sub-discussion about whether or not she had a reasonable basis to make her claim, although that is baked into whether or not, you did a protected activity or not. But they were asked specifically whether they would stipulate to whether or not a protected activity at all occurred. And part of that would have had Lively have to prove that she had a reasonable basis to make a complaint, and then she did make a complaint, and it constituted a complaint. And by stipulating to this particular element, it takes all of that out of the equation. So let's look at what Lively had proposed her jury instructions to be on this claim. This is what she proposed to be the jury instruction with respect to the elements of the FIHA retaliation claim. Number one being that Lively engaged in a protected activity, including by complaining about or opposing a hostile work environment based on her sex or gender. So at trial, if there was no stipulation, she would have had to prove that she engaged in a protected activity and that she had a reasonable basis for making the complaints that she did. So how does this play out? The jury is instructed that for purposes of trial, no one is debating whether or not a protected activity occurred. And these are the protected activities that Lively is alleging occurred. That she complained about harassment in May and June of 2023, that she lodged complaints through the protections letter, the 17-point list in November of 2023, and at the all-hands meeting on January 4th, she addressed her complaints, and she declined to appear with the Wayfarer Studios, Baldoni and Heath during the premiere and promotion, and finally that she filed her CRD complaint in December of 2024. So all of these individually and cumulatively are the protected activities that she is alleging. So
just want to pause here for a second for fair use. This is something that caught my eye. The celeb legal sub on Reddit is where nuance and critical thinking go to die. Yes, I struggle when critical thinking goes to die. I struggle with it. And I think that's what's upsetting for me with a lot of the discourse around the Rebel Wilson cases, because there's multiple of them, is like, can you imagine, guys, if you didn't look at any of the documents, you didn't look at any of the legal documents, you didn't follow the lawsuits, you didn't follow the filings. In Justin's situation, who would you believe? You'd likely believe Blake, right? Like if you weren't following anything other than what Legacy Media and Blake said, you'd be like, Justin's a horrible person. He's an asshole. And that's where, nuance for me is so important. I'm always willing to change my mind, but it's like if you follow the documents, if you look at the proof, if you watch the court case, how can you not see what's going on here? So I really struggle with not being willing to critically think about things. And I think sometimes in all honesty, I think sometimes there is a defensiveness around the Rebel Wilson case because of some of the names crossing over between the lawsuits. It doesn't mean Justin did anything bad. It doesn't mean because something nefarious happened in that case, it means it happened in Justin's. But people also deserve justice, and Charlotte deserves justice. And it's just, when you look at what actually has happened, I just don't understand how people can be like, yeah, Rebel is just defending herself against the mean man, the Russian oligarch, team Russian oligarch, which is funny, actually, I was just thinking of this. When I first started talking about the Rebel case, there were a couple people that called me team Russian oligarch. And I was like, have we lost the ability in this world to have nuanced conversations where if you question something, so if you question Rebel Wilson, now you're pro oligarchs? It was the wildest shit I'd ever seen. I was like, we are literally boiling down people's opinions to either you believe Rebel or your pro-Russian oligarchs. I was like, what is happening? Where have we lost our minds in today's world? But that was also the PR, right? That is why Rebel, who had no problem with Len up until he didn't give her what she wanted, why they put that at the forefront of the smear website, because it collapses nuance.
This makes it easy for the judge to say that evidence that Lively might want to put forward about her experience on set and what other people's experience on set was, and yada, 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 all of that evidence that would relate to her underlying harassment claim would not really be relevant anymore and would be unnecessary for the jury to hear, because they're not deciding whether or not she actually engaged in a protected activity or not. All they're here to decide is whether or not Wayfarer retaliated for her having made a complaint about something that had went on. That does not mean that Wayfarer is crippled in providing evidence to support all the reasons why they engaged in crisis PR, for example. It does not prohibit them from putting forth evidence about their state of mind and that drove their business decisions to do what they did around the time of the complaints. But it does prevent Lively from bringing in evidence about the underlying harassment claims. And that makes it much, much cleaner at trial. So the jury's job essentially becomes fairly straightforward. Okay, there was this protected activity or series of protected activities, whatever they are. So for purposes of trial, we all agree these things happened. Now it's the jury's job to determine whether or not these things caused the harm that Lively is now alleging she experienced. Were these things the substantial motivating factor for the things that Lively is alleging that they did to adversely impact her employment prospects? And that really is what the case is about at this point, because she does not have a viable sexual harassment claim. Those were all dismissed. So by doing this, it kind of reaffirms what the court's motion for summary judgment order was, which is we're not litigating whether or not you were harassed or not. And by stipulating to this element for the purposes of trial, it's essentially gutting the case, again, to what it is intended to be, which is a determination of whether or not their actions were retaliatory. Wayfarer should not have to relitigate whether or not harassment occurred in this sort of roundabout way, with her telling her story to establish that she had a good faith, reasonable basis to make her complaint. That's going to be a lot for a jury to have to navigate and understand. And if they're being asked to not decide whether harassment occurred or not, why are they sitting there hearing Isabella Ferrer testify? The judge is not going to be inclined to let Colleen Hoover, Clara Ayub, or any of these other witnesses that Lively thought she was going to bring forward to backdoor her harassment claims into the trial, because Wayfarer is like, fine, we'll agree that you engaged in protected activity, so now prove that we retaliated against you because of it. To me, that shows a lot of confidence that they believe that they can win on the retaliation claim. I think it will be kind of funny if Lively comes back and says, we don't agree to stipulate to this because they wanted to bring all of that stuff into the court. But that's not going to be a good look, because defense is literally saying we're making your job one step easier. I also don't think that this changes the defense very much, because from the beginning, they've said that the actions that they took had nothing to do with Lively's complaints about what happened on set. And so they will be able to provide all of the evidence that supports that theory. And it's still Lively's burden to prove that it wasn't, to prove that they were motivated by her complaints, and substantially so. So long story short, this move makes sense to me. And I think is particularly important that they specified for the purposes of trial, meaning that they're not stipulating to this fact, for example, for purposes of 47.1, they're not stipulating to this for purposes of an appeal. They're not stipulating to this with respect to any other purpose other than at trial before the jury for the purpose of narrowing down what the jury has to see. And it all makes a lot of sense.
All right. So that's what she had to say. I was just scrolling back through the chat. I missed so many good conversations, and I'm sorry I missed so many good ones, especially when we were talking about the Rebel Wilson lawsuit, guys. You guys are just badass. I feel so blessed to be surrounded by people that like critical thinking, nuance, seeing the evidence. I mean, you guys are incredible. So that's what little girl attorney had to say. Thank you so much, MDR, recalling taped Steve Sarwit's convo with Claire Ayub. His strategy is to get the truth out there. I think his decision is being made in the context of both appeals and the Jen Abel Van Zandt case. We are in the third inning. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, we have to keep in mind, I didn't even think of that, oh my gosh, that Van Zandt, Jen Abel, Stephanie Jones. I cannot wait. I am dying for more information in regards to that one and to see what happens over there. That one and the Rebel Wilson, I'm hoping it's streamed. Does anyone know? Will the Rebel Wilson Amanda Ghost, I think it's in California, will that be streamed? And thank you so much again for the support. I really appreciate it. Yes, please make sure to like the stream. Okay, so here's my thoughts on, like, I don't know the legal side. I am not a lawyer. Even though I've graduated from the Emily D. Baker School of Law, I'm not a lawyer. So this is kind of what my thought process was this morning when I was processing all this. And I thought, one, yes, I agree with, I think it was Not Actually Golden that said, you're going to have like 2-3 weeks of Blake just like spewing a bunch of crap, right? And then you have all the headlines that are going to come with that as well. And that could be even a strategic win, because when you're looking at a case like this, I mean, it's PR as much as it is legal at the end of the day. We have to realize that. And I think that's why Brian Freeman came out of the gate so hard with Justin Baldoni and with their lawsuit, was like the reality is they did need to get the narrative back on Justin's side. So it prevents that. It prevents those headlines. My only concern right now is that Blake's going to run with the headlines. Potentially. Maybe she won't. Maybe she'll take the high road. I've been surprised by things in my life. With headlines that frame it like they're admitting that this environment happened, it was a hostile work environment. We know how legacy media works, right? We know how legacy media works. They're not looking at the actual case. They're not looking at the actual facts. So my concern is they're going to run with that. And then I was thinking after watching Not Actually Golden, well, if you do go through a trial and you have one person even that is like, no, they're creeps, this is gross, he shouldn't have been in her trailer, or, you know, the hugging's weird. If you have one person that like sways the entire jury, like the headlines are going to be worse, right? So I don't know. Oh, my dog's going to just like take down my whole desk. I don't know. I think there's definitely a concern short term over the headlines that might come out with this. But I think long-term PR, it actually works in Justin's favor, because you don't have 3 weeks of headlines of Blake Lively. You know, we can't stream it. We can't stream it. So yes, we're going to have some content creators there, but legacy media is also going to be there. And legacy media seems to always run with Blake's side. So you're going to have them running headlines of like, you know, Blake Lively, mother of 4, tearfully on the stand, recounting. And then, you know, she parades Isabella Ferrer, Colleen Hoover, and like the headlines would just be insane. So I do think there's a potential for a short-term loss on the PR front. But even if they're thinking strategically of if there's one person that's able to, as Not Actually Golden said, infect the whole jury and bring them over to like, no, they're creeps, that, you know, that's even worse headline wise and PR wise long term. So I think they're going to take potentially a little hit short term, but I do think there's a benefit long term on the PR front for Justin. These two cases just really upset me, to be quite honest. They just really upset me. The case with Rebel Wilson and Amanda Ghost and everything, someone had mentioned that they're crashing out on Reddit. Like, what do you do when it's a bunch of women? It's like, who's the bad guy? I believe it. And, you know, it's a different case in many ways. And at the core, based on the evidence I've seen so far, and Rebel Wilson has been lying through her teeth. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. She has been lying through her teeth on the stand. She has contradicted herself so many times. It's incredible. She has been caught in so many lies. It's insane. Even from, no, I don't have the messages anymore, to whoops-a-daisy, yes, I may have them. Let me find them with my lawyer on the lunch break. She's been caught in lie after lie. When you look at the timeline, actually look at the timeline, it's a slow buildup of her getting more pissed, because she's not getting what she wants. The Australian Writers Guild says, no, girl, no, you don't get the writing credit. Then she's pushing Len and Charlotte's lawyer saying, you want them to do something illegal and give it to you anyway. And her response was, well, they bent the rules for other people. That was her response. That was Rebel's own words. Bent rules for other people. They should have done it for me. And so you see the buildup, and I agree. And that's what's so masterful about Sue is before she said the words, I was thinking, she doesn't care about Charlotte. She never filed a complaint. She never checked in with Charlotte. She never clarified. She never said, hey, girl, hey, like, let me help you file an official complaint. She only brought up the issues on set when it served her. And that's what the lawyer said, Charlotte's lawyer said, is it was to serve you. And you see the timeline and it's black and white. And I don't know how anyone can look at that timeline and be like, but Russian oligarch. But Amanda Ghost has done things in her past. Like, she's not like a wilting flower. Okay, fine. Look at the timeline, though. That doesn't mean it's okay for someone to threaten to block a movie, to send legal threats to block a movie, in Rebel's own words, because she wasn't getting what she wanted. She said in emails, I didn't want to say this. I didn't want to do this, but you just got to give me what I want. You just got to give me the 50% in the writing credit. So you have that. You have in Rebel's own words. And then over here on Blake's case, and I stand by it. Whatever. Smear me. I don't give a shit. Smear me for it. I stand by what I said. It's like a playbook. They even all ran to Ari, a playbook, and she's like Blake 2.0. And then you have over on Blake's side, turns out she had a burner phone that she's sending fake messages to herself to look like she's messaging Leslie. She has this fake ass 17-point list that she, bends them in half to get them on her side to sign it so that she has control. She had no problem. She had no problem with the circumcision conversation at her penthouse because she didn't even take the role yet. But of course, now she has an expert saying it's institutional trauma. All right, lady. But she was fine enough with that conversation. She was comfortable enough with that conversation to sign on to the movie. She was comfortable enough with Justin Baldoni to be in editing rooms with him, to be on planes with him, to be in cars with him, to allegedly, she's claiming now in court, she thought they were going to do a second movie. So what do you mean? I thought we were filming together for the second movie. Let's make like 300 million or whatever she claims. So even if you can argue that cumulatively these things made her uncomfortable, well, you didn't have a problem with it until you needed it to weaponize against people. You didn't have a problem with that conversation at your penthouse. You didn't have a problem with anything. And you could say, well, she made the 17-point checklist. She could have been a big girl, pull up her big girl pants and like, I don't do hugs. That's the one thing where I can like, she didn't like hugs. But then Justin in his deposition, the lawyers ask him, her lawyers are like, how many times did you hug Blake? And he's like, were she initiated or were I initiated? So clearly she was initiating hugs too. So it's just insane to me. You have these two women that even if you can get me, because I do like to think critically, I do like to step out of my own shoes and perspective of the world and see things from a different perspective. And in both those cases, even if you can get me on the side of like, okay, some stuff happened that like, maybe they were uncomfortable or someone was uncomfortable. Well, then how come nothing was done until it served you? How come nothing was done until it served your means of getting control of something? How come Charlotte, it didn't matter until now you realize Len isn't giving you what you want. Now Charlotte matters. And then you're crashing out on Instagram. Where's the other? Do I have it up? Allegedly leaking nudes of Charlotte from your hacker you allegedly hired. Oh, I do still have it up. Like, this is the same shit Blake did. I didn't get what I wanted, so I went to the press. But Blake, it was New York Times. So this is what else. On the Deb film, this is the movie's Instagram. Rebel Wilson somehow got this picture of apparently, allegedly, Charlotte MacInnes singing on Len's super yacht or whatever. And Rebel, she's a professional and a warrior for women, remember, goes, so glad you got your record deal, Charlotte, at the expense of the 300 people who worked on the Deb and really want to see it released. You know what Rebel's problem is remember back to that email? In Rebel's own words, she wanted the record contract. And then the other one saying that Charlotte is in a culturally inappropriate Indian outfit. I genuinely don't know why everything is Indian to Rebel. That seems racist to me. That seems inappropriate. We have the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell for Amanda Ghost, and then we have the Indian outfit for Charlotte MacInnes. What does Rebel have against what? Rebel, what is your problem? So anyway, those are a couple of the messages. An alleged leaked nude photo that was taken from Charlotte's hacked account. And then Blake. All the shit Blake's done too. And it's interesting because they go back to Ari Emanuel every time. And we actually have, now I'm just like ranting because these cases get me so pissed. And I just like the argument of, but Russian oligarch is it's just absurd to me. It's like when I criticize Taylor and people are like, well, but Beyonce's fandom, they're bad too. It's like, can we just stay on topic for the issue? Okay, where was I going with this? Oh, that's what I want to show. This is why everyone with power and connections runs back to Ari. So this is by TV and Movie Addict as well. So it looks like Ari is a go-to guy to ruin people's lives. I mean, just look at this message from Ryan Reynolds saying, can go full Ari. So we have this message here. So it's Ryan and Warren says, we will willfully go full Ari on all of them, but we want to know what we are having him accomplish. And Ryan Reynolds says, this is at least some good news. So that's why these people in power, when they don't get what they want, they go to Ari Emanuel. He's supposed to clean up messes for people when they don't get what they want. Which I think, honestly, they're, for whatever reason, these people have just learned Ari Emanuel's playbook. But if that doesn't tell you more than anything, who runs Hollywood? Look, Ryan ran Ari Emanuel, and how long did it take for Justin to lose his representation? Like 3 seconds? Yeah. Hi, Ryan. It's Les. If you've known someone for how many years and you have their phone number in your phone, why do you have to say it's Les? They're insane. They're all insane. Miss Wilson, you're lying, aren't you? The amount of times Charlotte's lawyer asked her that, and the stories, like she's asking Rebel about one thing and then Rebel's telling a story about something else. And it's like, girl, stay on point here. Her message, like, I know you legally advised me not to lie, but I need those rumors out, was mind blowing. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for helping to bring more in that I'm forgetting or missing. Yeah, her message was, I know you legally advised me not to lie, but I need these rumors out. And keep in mind, even Katie Case said, girl, no, like when Katie was deposed, she said there was no proof that Amanda Ghost was the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell or did anything we accused her of. And Rebel was buddy-buddy with Len up until it didn't serve her anymore, up until he finally put his foot down. I just feel like some of these stars have not been told no. They've never had people stand firm in a decision. You don't have to agree with people's decisions. You don't have to agree. She can go off and be like, I deserved it. Okay, girl, fine. I mean, the Australian Writers Guild said you don't, but whatever. And as Sue said, like she never appealed it. Miss Wilson, are you unsure? Because you think we have the evidence. Yeah, that was another good one. Yeah. Rebel plays stupid, like she has amnesia. Too funny watching Rebel's interviews. Yeah. It's just insane. She accused him of embezzlement, and they could not get her to understand how movie is moved around in a budget before it's finalized. She refused to hear it and listen to it. And that's what I've said when I first pulled up that email a long time ago, when it first came up before the lawsuit started or anything. I said it like that email, it never came across as embezzlement to me. First of all. And second, I think she was just pissed because her Camp Sugar or whatever wasn't getting like any extra funds. She was left out of the email. And to me, she always just seemed like pissed that she was left out of that email and she wasn't included. She seems jealous of women, not a champion of women. Just like Blake, right? Like Blake, it's not about women. That's what's wild to me is the parallels between these two cases is you have, and now that I think about it, actually, the one content creator that kept calling me like Team Russian Oligarch, I'm wondering if there were talking points sent out to discredit people. Because you look at even my history, looking back, Ryan and Blake tried to discredit me in Glamour magazine with my information that I was talking about in regards to PR and Shapiro and his connections to Black Box. And this person's going hard, like trying to discredit me. Apparently I'm part of a cult because of spirituality, all this crazy bullshit. But it's interesting that this person kept saying to me and accusing me of being Team Russian Oligarch and saying that if I don't agree with Rebel, then I agree with oligarchs. Now I'm wondering, hearing Rebel use that term so many times. Oh, I'm getting a t-shirt for sure. I'm Team Russian Oligarch. I'm going to get it for sure. At least you guys will get it. Some people will be offended, but you guys will get it. Now I'm wondering if talking points were sent out because that's weird. Because Rebel was saying it, guys, for those that didn't see last night, even when it didn't make sense. Team Russian Oligarch. Girl, I was asking you what you ate for lunch yesterday. Where'd that come from? Makes me wonder. Ryan is worse than Blake. They deserve each other. Yeah. Well, and he has the connections too, right? Like I don't think WME would have Blake's back the way that they do if it wasn't for Ryan, honestly. Yeah, I was just thinking in my head. I think he is too. And the weird thing for me is I just, to this day, I don't understand how Ryan gained so much control in Hollywood. I mean, he wasn't overly successful. He had like Van Wilder and shit before Deadpool. The Green Lantern was a huge failure, which he threw the cast and everyone else under the bus, by the way. He threw everyone under the bus for Green Lantern. It wasn't his fault. It was everyone else's fault. They blew the budget. They went in a direction that he didn't like. The interviews are out there. You can read them. Why did Ari take him? I want to know why Ari took Ryan under his wing. And how do people know? You know, people know, even if you don't know, you know, to go to Ari and Ari will fix your problems. If you're having problems with people, which also leads me to believe if the argument of, well, you know, Rebel was just trying to protect herself from rich people, bad guys, she's protecting herself from bad guys. Well, obviously she saw Ari Emanuel as having more power than Len. So Rebel saw Ari having more power and say in the industry because she went to him last. She emailed directly. It's not even like she had to write the receptionist and be like, hey girl, hey, can you forward this to Ari? She went directly to Ari Emanuel, which talks about the connections that she had. And she obviously went over Len's head. So You're trying to protect yourself from the bad guys, but you have more connections? Weird. I don't know. Yeah, these people are yeah. Hollywood is such a cesspool. These two parties airing their dirty laundry on the dog. It is wild. See, that's what I'm saying. This is why it bugs me so much with the Rebel case and why I won't drop it, no matter what people say about me. Because when you actually look at everything, I don't know how people can be like, oh, poor wilting flower Rebel. She was stalking Charlotte and posting these pics because Charlotte blocked her. Oh, yeah, I forgot that part. So sorry, thank you for clarifying, Zane. That part I forgot. So Charlotte blocked her on social media. And so then all of a sudden she was getting all these pics because the lawyer did say, how'd you get these pictures if you were blocked? Yeah, Rebel slam their culture, age, looks, wealth. Yeah. 100%. I love your rants. I'm like, today's a quiet day well, that's not true. I have a lot of work to do preparing for corporate calls next week, but I'm like, I can just sit and rant and hang out for a bit because I'm not on I'm not on a crazy schedule. Shit, I should have been on a call an hour ago. No, I'm pretty good. I like days when I have a little bit more breathing room to just hang out. Someone needs to do a deep dive on UTA and WME. Seriously, I think it's like the mafia. Yeah. You know what's funny is you point out UTA is when I was doing my exposés on Ari, someone had messaged me that's a friend of mine and in the industry. And it was like, girl, UTA. Like, girl, start looking in UTA too. So it's funny you just mentioned that because someone had said to me, like, what you need to do. Yeah, this must be the year of the narcissist. It's not the year of the fire horse, guys. It is the year of the narcissist, hopefully to be defeated. That made me laugh. Rant on. I love you guys. Yeah, Tag called Rebel Wilson insane in their messages. So there's also that. You bring back shame bells and call them accountability bells. Yeah. Blake needs some shame bells on her. She definitely, what is Blakey up to these days? I haven't checked her IG. I was just captivated last night. I haven't gotten much done today. It's just captivated. Honestly, guys, I wish you could go back and watch it. You can't because you weren't allowed to record anything and it wasn't recorded on the federal YouTube page. But oh my. I just only can imagine that that's what. Why isn't Blake's did Blake block? No, it's just got to be loading slow. Why am I not able to load Blake's profile? Oh, there she is. Yeah, I wish you guys could go back and watch it because it's insane. Oh no, she hasn't crashed out recently. Yeah, it's worse than I thought. Like I said, my husband is not into pop culture. He doesn't really, he even said like Rebel Wilson, I know her from, he's like, wasn't that a singing movie or something? That's how he knows Rebel Wilson. He knows no one else in the case and he couldn't stop. I was watching on my phone. He's like, can we put this on the TV? Like stream it on the TV. We put it on the TV and he was as invested with me. Yeah, you couldn't even rewind or pause, guys. So when I was like typing as fast as I could, I was typing as fast as I could because you couldn't. It's like as if you're watching live and you just got a notebook. Yeah, it's good to relieve stress. 100%. Breathe. I will sage. I'm going to do some yoga. Yeah, PR is Ryan Reynolds' game every day of his life. Isn't that the truth? I can't imagine living like this. Like, I just can't. And you know, when I was in the industry, even in the branding industry, I always thought like I'm going to do good from the inside out. Oh, Ashley. It's like, you know, I can help people that are good-hearted get ahead. And I still do that. I still take on the odd clients. And next week I have some corporate events to help like really good corporations understand how to use branding psychology and brand archetypes. So I do take on clients from time to time again, but there was such a I can change it from the inside mentality for such a long time. You can't. I only know Rebel from Golden Poo from Night of the Museum. Oh, is she in that? I didn't even realize. I didn't realize. Do you think Justin will stay in Hollywood and do films now? It's a good question. Have you guys seen the interview with, oh my God, Soul Boom? I used to always call it Soul Bloom. Why am I drawing a blank? Because I love him. Oh my gosh. Rainn Wilson. I don't know why. I feel like that's like, I'm sorry, Rainn Wilson. I can't believe I was drawing such a blank there. But he had kind of said on his interview with Rainn that he realized what he wanted, he didn't really want anymore, and that he had everything he needed. And I always felt like he was saying that he was stepping away from Hollywood with that. It'll be interesting to see what he does. But I always got the feeling from that interview that he was planning on kind of stepping away. Let me see if I can. We'll play that part. Why not? This is the interview. I'm sure he'll still be involved in Wayfarer and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
What next? Where next lies your journey? I've put so much energy into climbing the career ladder and to being enough in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, I think, over this last film that there's never been a way for me to separate my desire to be enough and to fit in this business with the projects that I make. Because of course I made It Ends With Us and all these films for a very specific reason, but I also, wanted people to think I was a good director or a good actor, and I wanted my place in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's enmeshed with all of it. And I think I've really learned over the course of the last 2 years that it really doesn't matter. And I've been able to, luckily, and it's never 100% pure, but I've really had the great fortune of being able to see that what I thought I wanted isn't what I wanted, and that I have everything that I want. And so my focus right now has been to really show up as a father and as a husband in ways that I wasn't before. And it's little things that nobody cares about, but the things that mean a lot to my wife and my kids. And then trying to be a good friend, showing up for my friends in ways that I've had many show up for me recently, you being one of them. Everything outside of the world the public sees is what I'm focused on right now. And I am feeling so genuinely happy and joyful for the first time in a long time.
Going to the fatherhood thing, when I was raising Walt.
Yeah, so I always got the feeling from that when he said, I thought what I thought I wanted, I don't want. So maybe he'll step back a bit. Maybe he'll pivot. I've often wondered how do you go back to Man Enough with a different perspective? Do you keep the same perspective? I'm really curious to see what he does. Can you speak to Wesley Snipes and Ari in the IRS? Because Ryan Reynolds was really pissed at Wesley Snipes and admitted to antagonizing him on set. Oh, yeah. We did exposés. Oh, we did exposés. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's my opinion, of course, that Ari's who reported Wesley to the IRS. It is 100% my opinion of that. My opinion, Ari, just my opinion. And Ryan Reynolds, yeah, hated Wesley. There's and if anyone wants me to revisit that and do an official expose again on it, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to revisit it and update that expose I did. But yeah, Wesley had certain rights on his contract, and Ryan comes in and they were trying to position him for a spinoff of the Blade franchise. So was it Blade Trinity that Ryan and Jessica Biel were in? And they were trying to position Ryan as the new guy taking over. And Ryan comes in with a stupid ass Deadpool sense of humor and just antagonizing Wesley non-stop. But all you remember, which pisses me off the most, all you remember from the press of that, because anytime I talk about it, inevitably you get people being like, well, he refused to open his eyes. They had to CGI his eyes in one scene. You wouldn't have even got me on set with how I was being treated if I was Wesley. You wouldn't have even got my ass on set, let alone have to CGI my eyes in. All right. Ryan literally said in interviews that he would like poke at Wesley trying to get him to break. Made fun of Wesley because he would be in character the whole time. He would sign things like notes from his trailer as Blade. Made fun of him for it. They took over his movie, and what we remember from the headlines are Wesley's an asshole because they had to CGI his eyes. Ryan wasn't working with Ari at that point officially as a WME client, but I want to know how and why he ended up as a WME client after that. I mean, it went nowhere. It was another failed direction for Ryan, right? Destroyed the Blade franchise, but nothing, the spinoff never happens. People hated Ryan's character. He was like Deadpool and Blade. People are like, WTF is going on? And then miraculously, Wesley, when he filed a lawsuit against, I can't remember the company now, but filed a lawsuit against them over wages and breach of contract, well, all of a sudden the IRS knows about Wesley. It's pretty interesting. It's interesting timing. But yes, that is something I am very passionate about as well. It really, really upsets me. And then people are like, well, if it was so bad, he wouldn't have been in Deadpool and Wolverine or whatever he was in, which is just a shit argument. Like, I'm open to constructive criticism or like constructive conversation, but it's not what you get. You just get people being like, you're an asshole, you're a bitch, you're a misogynist. But this, moving the goalposts, I'm like, this isn't even what is happening? But the same feeling from that interview. Yeah, I got that feeling. So maybe he'll just do passion projects. Maybe he'll stay behind the scenes. Maybe he's like, whatever, I have enough money to just live comfortably. I'll always be a part of Wayfarer, but I'm done. It's very possible. Then after Wesley Snipes went to prison, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively got married on plantation. Easter eggs. So, yeah, I wouldn't even. Well, and yeah, there was just so much that went on. That whole Ari Emanuel and because there's a lawsuit, for those that don't know, there was a lawsuit against Ari Emanuel from staff at, was it Endeavor at the time? I think it was like right before it became actually WME. And SH, well, might as well say it at this point, said a lot worse, sexual harassment lawsuit against Ari Emanuel that he settled. But what came out in that lawsuit was that he had refused to send a Navy SEAL script to Wesley Snipes because, and I quote, blacks can't swim. Yep, that's what Ari Emanuel said. So yeah, it's just wild. Hey, Chris, it's so nice to see you. Yeah, Snipes came out recently saying him and Ryan's beef was all fake. He got TJ Millered, methinks. Yeah. Wonder if he took the $250,000. And here's the thing. If, for example, because I mean, you can look back and realize it wasn't fake. TJ Miller on this channel has got, a lot of people have thrown rocks at him, right? And been like, he shouldn't have taken the apology tour. He shouldn't have retracted everything. He's a coward, etc. And at the end of the day, people need to pay their bills. I mean, he was blacklisted after coming out against Ryan, but people need to pay their bills. And so even if Wesley Snipes, it comes out, or TJ Miller, or whoever else came out, or even Justin Baldoni, if he didn't have anyone to help him financially with this, he may have been in a position where he had no choice but to read that stupid letter that Ryan gave him. It's very possible, right? I also understand the reality of life. And sometimes you're like, I'm just going to suck it up because I got bills to pay. I want to be in the industry. I want to do what I love. And I can also respect that, honestly. Just started. No, we're like 2.5 hours deep. Just started. That's funny. Chris has jokes today. Yeah, it's one of my favorite interviews too. I have a theory. I think he made It Ends With Us for Emily. Aw, something she said in an interview about her father being not safe could be totally wrong, but that was the impression I got. I can imagine him doing something like that. He seems really sentimental. Stole the words right out of my mouth. JV's sentiments are heartbreaking. You really see he'd gone through a hard time. Yeah, he looked sick. Like, you look back on even the marketing timeline of It Ends With Us, he looked sick. Please revisit. Okay, we can revisit it. We can revisit it next week. Yeah, I'm with you guys. See, that's why I love hanging out with you guys. Not that everyone, a lot of people disagree with me. I'm not saying that I only have to be around people that agree with me. That's not what I meant. But just like to look at I love being around a community. It's like I can look at the facts. I could use my critical thinking skills. I can put the pieces together. It's so much fun hanging out with you guys. But I agree with all y'all in the comments. Yeah, I believe Wesley Snipes did the TJ thing. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, at the end of the day, imagine being in someone's shoes where like feeding your family requires you to suck it up and take the fault for something. Because Ryan Reynolds, for some reason, controls Hollywood with Ari Emanuel. Like, it just, I can put myself in that shoe. I can put myself in the position of like, shit, what do you do? Okay, we'll redo the expose. I'll put it together. Next week's going to be tough for lives, guys. I talked about it the other day, but I'll talk about it briefly again. I have corporate seminars I'm running Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, which are pretty much all day other than a lunch. And then Monday the 11th, I might be able to do a short live in the morning, but I have a brand VIP day with a client in the afternoon. So lives will be touch and go. I'll still try to get updates for you guys, or even if we can just jump on for a half an hour and we'll legit have to be. We'll have to play it by ear a little bit next week. Ryan has beef with Denzel Washington too. Makes you think. Mm-hmm. You're one of the few people who have done deeper dives on Ryan. He's who I gave my eye on. Mm-hmm. Or had my eye on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. My goal is to figure out how Ryan got to where he is in Hollywood. My goal is to figure out how he got on Ari Emanuel's radar. Because you look at Ryan's path through Hollywood, and he was problematic back to Bolt Neck, which is like his first movie ever. He was problematic, and people came out saying he was problematic. And he had failure after failure after failure after failure. And how many actors are not just having failure after failure, but like Green Lantern was a failure. The Blade spinoff never happened because people didn't like his character. Like, franchise failures. And he just kept being given these opportunities. How many other people in Hollywood have failed royally so many times, been known to be difficult to work with, and yet continue to be given opportunities? That is what I'm trying to figure out. I get asked it a lot. I'm like, girl, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. But I think Blade is important. That timeline, I keep coming back to that timeline. I think the Blade timeline is important because that's where you start to see more crossover in the Ari and Ryan world. And again, Ryan wasn't with WME at that time. He ended up leaving his agent to go over to WME. I think it was like a year or two later. So it was like within recent years after Blade. I feel like Ari Emanuel's like the pin here that you just have to pull and like the dominoes all fall over. But I can't figure it. Like, the piece I can't figure out is, but why? Like, why would Ari back him? Why would Ari take him under his wing? I just can't figure it out. Yeah, it's a question we should all be asking. What did he do? How did he get that much power? And yeah, I keep trying to figure it out. I wouldn't even be shocked. They all go the same Illuminati eyes wide shut parties together. My shock on that would be 0. Liz Planks LLC is the same address as Van Zandt Inc. Is that common in business? I'd have to look it up. It depends on what's there. If it's like a closet, then no. Which I can't remember who who was it? A year and a half ago, I did an expose on someone and it came back to like literally a closet inside a building. Like it was just like an empty small room. I can look into it. The answer is it depends. It depends what's there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. Not talent enough for all of this. He only plays Ryan. That is his range. Ashley has Substack too. Yes. If 2.5 hours of Ashley is not enough in a day, which I get exhausted for myself after that. So I don't know how you all handle me. But Substack, I'm going to be putting an article up today over there. I tend to put stuff also over there that might be too controversial for YouTube. I have free content over there, and then the membership. There's a YouTube membership. We hang out on Saturdays here. And then there's the Substack membership, which is more like exclusive content that's not public. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to get an article up later today because I actually have the time. My goal, guys. Okay. I'm not even going to lie. I've been stressed. I've been sad a bit lately. I'm going to share something with you guys. So the idea is to downsize in many ways. So we have a farm animal sanctuary in Ontario. Anyone that knows Canada, Ontario prices, it's just like a lot of money to live in Ontario. It's just so expensive. Property out here is so expensive. So the goal is and was to move out to Nova Scotia. We found like just the perfect property, which is like a fraction of the cost of our farm here. So there's more space. I could don't tell my husband, I could likely save more animals, to have more space to save more animals. I've even wanted to start a husky rescue out there and help abandon huskies. There's a whole other story to that as well. Why huskies? For those who've been here for a while, you guys know that. So I've been stressed because we posted that was for sale about 2 months ago. And everyone's like, Ashley, brace yourself because the market's slow in Ontario. And I was like, I just so desperately want this to happen because if this happens and we get to move, I can focus more on exposés. I can focus more on extra content for you guys. I can go all in on some of the investigations that, literally take some of these 5, 6, 7 hours a day to research. And I can go all in on that. So I've been sad. I'm going to be honest. Hanging out with you guys has helped a lot because I've been sad the last few days. And because I was hoping, like, it's creeping up on the date originally, if all went well, that we'd be moving. And it's like, we haven't sold yet. And that's the thing. That is the pin of my life that sets all the dominoes over where I can just like breathe a little bit and focus on the channel. So anyway, I've been a bit sad recently. I've been a bit sad because I've just been so like, just get to the sale date, just get to the sale date, just get to the sale date. And then you can focus 100% on the channel because it does become a lot. I've been burned out because I'm juggling clients and private clients and corporate clients and brand VIP days. And I love my work with my clients so much. It's just so much to juggle, honestly. So hopefully we sell soon. Maybe Blake and Ryan, as a sign of good faith, can buy the farm. As an apology for smearing me in Glamour magazine and sending me a subpoena. But that is the goal, guys. That is the goal where we move out to Nova Scotia. We're able to take some pressure off of me because I do have to keep going with clients if we're in Ontario. And then I can focus more on the stuff with like these exposés and these deep dives, which I freaking love. I love it so much. Send that check to Ride. Yeah. Ryan. Well, it's funny. They hang out not too far from here in the summers. They hang out in Muskoka. So they're always pretty close. And between being in Toronto and Muskoka, hey, Ryan, this is within driving distance. It might do you well, Ryan, you and Blake to just spend some time on the farm. All right, let me just check in, see how you guys are doing. How you guys feeling? That was 2.5 hours. Having an animal sanctuary is a dream come true. It'll come true for you. I like it. That was something that when we bought the farm, my mom, I think it was 3.5, 4 years ago now. My mom was like, since you were like a baby, since you were little, that was your dream. So it'll come true. That's why I knew starting today with like a good story about the beagles would land with this community, because we're all animal lovers here. Ryan is friends with Bryan Singer, who's also inappropriate and notorious. Oh, well, I'm gonna have to look into that. Interesting. Are you kidding me? Ryan is a fraud with Bryan Singer, and Bryan Singer is known for being, wow. Okay, well, let me make a note for myself. All right, I made a note for myself. I'll look into this. I can add it to my expose. Oh, was it Liz Plank's company, The Closet? Well, there you go then. I was like, I looked into someone last year and it was a closet. Okay, then yeah, that's not normal. Then that's definitely not normal. I'll make a note for myself on that too, to revisit that. I knew it was someone within this universe of people. Oh, Singer did the first X-Men movies. Well, there you go. Tell Ryan and Blake Lively they're not allowed to buy your farm. Maybe buy it and say, hi, we bought your farm. And Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Last year was crazy. I never, when I started this channel, thought I'd be like in a federal lawsuit or smeared in Glamour magazine, or now smeared across Reddit, because I believe that Rebel Wilson was doing a hostile takeover and throwing a temper tantrum. If Ryan and Blake were an animal, what would they be on the farm? Oh no. I feel bad even comparing any. Sheep are my favorite. The sheep are so sweet. Sheep are my favorite. That's a good question. Is Ryan here in the chat? Probably. Wouldn't doubt it. Fleas. Yes, there we go. Thank you. Fleas and ticks. Right, Daisy? She says, oh, Mom's always worried about ticks. Mom's always telling me, don't go into deep grass, Daisy. Yeah. Don't go into deep grass, right? Oh, I know. We're always worried about them. Yes, you're such a good girl. Not my good girl? Daisy, we rescued almost a year ago. June's your gotcha day. You're a good girl. Ticks, yeah. Ticks and fleas. She would be a parasite. Worms. This time of year is also really bad for like roundworms. That's possible too. Starring Blake Ryan as the antagonist. That's so funny. Did they buy a farm in New York? I know they talk about one of their kids rides or something, or has horses, so I wouldn't be surprised. What a sweetie. Yeah, she's a good girl. Daisy was found out in the country as a 4-month-old puppy. Her old owners had broken her legs, like her wrists, I guess, maybe paws, and beat her so bad that her head was swollen. And then they tied her to a post with her favorite toy. Hey, sweetie. That was Orwell. The pigs were the bad guys, but pigs are awesome. Pigs are awesome. They are diggers, but they are awesome. I know. I meant to get to Erica today, and then we got 2.5 hours deep. Love you. We'll move it till tomorrow. Hopefully there's not as much chaos tomorrow. Bad PR move. Just such a bad PR move overall. I do not know who is advising her. She needs to fire them. I don't know if it's Andrew Colvett. First of all, she needs to fire whoever is advising her. Second, she needs to get Andrew Colvett off her husband's YouTube channel and podcast. Like, it's just so egregious the way they're still using his page. But yeah, it was bad overall. Oh, such a bad decision. Such a bad decision. Unabomber Kirk. Pretty much. You can offer them a free spiritual retreat. Yeah, we'll move that to tomorrow. I can't watch. I say like I can't imagine tomorrow being just as crazy, but who knows in the land of Rebel Wilson and Blake Lively? Who knows? But we'll do it first tomorrow. We'll deal with my thoughts. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a fly? Oh, there's a fly bugging you. I know. It's probably Blake Lively. It's probably Blake Lively. What's up? What's up, sweetheart? You're a good dog. All right, my friends. That's what I have for you today. That's a good point. She probably doesn't take advice from everyone. I know a little bit about her, but that's the vibe she gives. That is the vibe she gives. She said white face with a straight face. Yeah, I was just like, I can't even believe what I'm seeing. It's insane. She's insane. I don't understand it. But we will, tomorrow, for anyone that's like, but actually, you said Erica Kirk, we will deal with Erica first tomorrow before we get into anything else. Oh, she looks at you with so much love. I love my May. Hey? Yeah, you're a good girl. I love my animals. All right, my friends. It was so nice to hang out with you guys. I promise tomorrow we will start. So nice to see you, Roses. I promise tomorrow. Why are you limping? Julia, why are you limping? You're faking, aren't you? Julia, my German Shepherd, will fake a limp when she thinks that there's going to be a second walk. She's so funny. She does have wrist problems, but not this bad. I think you're faking. You're beautiful. Do you want to say hi to everyone? Do you want to come up, say hi? You got to be nice, though. That's Julia. That's Julia. Girls, don't play on camera. We don't need a rough house on camera. Yes, Julia. Oh my gosh, she's such a character. She is crazy. So, oh, she's taking my socks now. Okay, I'll be right there. I have a really funny. Oh my gosh, you're all tangled. Ah! I have a really, really funny story, and then I really have to let you guys go. So, when I say she'll fake limp, Alaska, my husky that passed last year, he had a favorite fish toy. She hid it for 3 days on him, and then we couldn't find it anywhere. And 3 days later, she walks in the room, she's like, and dangles it in front of all of us. Like, you're all too dumb to have found it. She is a hoot. She is a mega esophagus dog rescue. So her throat she's a whole other story, but she's a rescue as well. Her throat's expanded from mega esophagus. But yeah, they're all acting up. She's a hoot. She is such a character, Julia. She's running around with my hat now. It was so nice to hang out with you guys. I will post something over on Substack later today. We will be here tomorrow, probably around 10:30 a.m. We will talk about Erica Kirk first, and then we'll talk about anything in regards to Rebel that's coming up. I'll try to stay up late. I'll post stuff in my Instagram stories tonight if you want kind of like play-by-play until I fall asleep. But with that, guys, thank you so much for the support. I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't, more importantly, do it without you. So I really appreciate you. The fact you guys spend any time with me, let alone 2.5 hours. I feel completely honored, and I genuinely love hanging out with you. You guys make my day. So thank you again. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Yes, we're done.